Hey everyone, welcome to a very special episode of Was That in Good Taste? My name is Chandler Phillips, and here's your co-host,
James Berry.
And because it's so special, we got an awesome friend in the studio guesting with us. Amy, tell them who you are.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. That was great. Very
A+.
in line with my character. I'm Amy Currul. I am a comedian, writer, a podcast host, editor, etc. But thank you so much for having me.
Well, and not only are you all these multi-hyphenates, you're also a member of the WGA.
I am not yet, but I am a production, so I am a staff member in film and TV, and I am currently on strike with the WGA.
There you go,
and I was on strike
That counts.
this morning, and they were handing out new swag, and they gave me this shirt, and I've just been wearing it all day, consequently. So
you're a WGA.
I am what has been determined as a pre-WGA, which I guess is just someone who is aiming to get in the guild, but is not yet in the guild, which I don't love. But I just say that I am a writer who is not yet in the guild, because that feels more accurate and less embarrassing to say. Not to shame anyone who strongly identifies pre-WGA. If you're really cool with that term, good. But I do find it weird, so I just say I'm a comedy writer. I have not yet made my introduction into the guild, the union, but I am aiming to get there, and as someone who has worked in film and TV for over a decade, I am in solitary strike with them.
You got your stripes.
Yeah, I'm on board. Exactly. I've done all the things.
And in addition to all that, too, you're also a co-host of mine for the Sink or Sing karaoke comedy podcast. Show. Comedy show.
Yes, I am one of three co-hosts of Sink or Sing. The second is Chandler. The third, not that we're equating those with any sort of value numerically.
You're better than them, and you know it.
There's no hierarchy, but there is a ranking of who's the most important.
Yeah, and if I'm not number one, then I get to accuse the other two of you of just hating women and being misogynist. So I'm saying I'm number one, and then there's you because you're sitting here in person, and then number three is Cameron Lindsay, who has already appeared on this podcast, as I understand, for Daiquiri Day. He was an excellent
all day
person.
Daiquiri Day.
All day Daiquiri Day. And yeah, the three of us combined host a comedy karaoke show. Mike.
And it's so much fun, and we got some potential shows coming up September 1st at Easy Lover.
Is this going to come out soon, by the way?
It'll probably drop
whenever you want.
Within the week.
Whatever you want.
I was going to promote Cameron's show, but it is on Wednesday.
Next week.
Okay, so.
Week after.
It'll be after.
No, week after.
Huh?
Yeah, do this live. Yeah. It's going to be not this week, but the week after.
Okay, so both our potential Mike and Cameron's show will have passed by then. But basically, we are three people doing comedy things together and separately, but somewhat simultaneously.
We're doing it together separately.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, we will both be at Cameron's show, but he is the sole host, and we'll all be hosting the mic together, and then we will also, the three of us, probably be appearing on other shows or writing things.
I love that you're plugging Cameron's show, and he's not even here. Like,
because
he's
I'm
just
a
loosely
good friend.
affiliated, and you're like, oh, by the way, this is going on.
Because I am a good friend,
you're probably. I think you're my first friend in the Brooklyn comedy scene.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. That's so great.
I really appreciate you coming on to the show and hanging out with us.
I'm thrilled. I've simply been begging to come on this podcast because it combines my two favorite things, talking and drinking.
Exactly. I think
those are my
best
two
things.
Those are my two hobbies, basically, outside of comedy. And that's the whole conceit of this show.
And that's like exactly what we do. And I think it's actually pretty apt that we have an array of drinks.
Yeah, we have several bevies in front of us. So the first one of which is water, which be responsible, kids.
Hydration is key.
Drink
responsibly. Notice I don't have any.
No,
I'm irresponsible.
James is the fun one,
he
clearly.
He likes to live dangerously.
Then we have the second bevy, which is what is remaining of a frozen Irish coffee that Chandler and I simply started drinking a while before this podcast.
So this one, the frozen Irish coffee that is since unfrozen and is now over ice. This is what we wanted to feature.
This is
on
what
the
was
show.
When I pitched Chandler, when I saw Chandler and said, "Hey, I want to come on your podcast. What is it about, and what can I bring to the table?" And he explained the the concept of it all, this is the drink that I think I pitched an espresso martini, and I think you had said you had already done that.
We'd done a couple.
Yeah, we'd done that.
And so then I was sort of
different.
thinking of other drinks that are integral to my being as a person, and I thought, oh, there's this bar, there's 2 bars that I go to, one more frequently than the other, and they both essentially have frozen Irish coffees.
And not just like a blended one, the one that's got like the whole like margarita.
It's like
it's like in a margarita machine, but it's an Irish coffee.
It
100%,
sets it
it's
apart from so many other frozen beverages. The fact that it comes from a slushy machine, I was on board. I was sold.
Yeah, the minute I sort of described to you what it was, you were like...
salivating.
Exactly. Very excited about it.
He came here like a puppy. He was like...
So hypothetically, we started this episode kind of at that institution.
Well, like 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah, like honestly, almost 3 at this point. Sampling this beverage, doing research for the podcast, which is one of my favorite things, is to do research, which means you're just at a place and you can later be like, I don't want to do it, but I was researching that this might be a topic for a thing I'm going to do.
I referred to it earlier this week as reconnaissance, and it made me feel like a Boy Scout again.
No, you got to upgrade. You're like a James Bond character.
Oh, yeah.
You're like a CIA agent.
I'm practically a Sherlock Holmes. And then the third drinky drink that we have at the end here, just to kind of...
How much can we reference brands and or specific institutions? I was keeping it very generic.
Well, I mean, they're not sponsoring us.
So we can reference them, or we shouldn't unless they want to give us money?
I don't know. We shouldn't insult them too much, unless they're bad.
No, just rip them apart. Roast them.
The third is that I insisted if we were all going to take a shot collectively that we had to do it live on mic because I'm annoying like that.
Unless you could tell you didn't watch the show, because that's all we do.
That's not enough.
I did admit
that was invited
because I have been on. Wait, before we take the shot, I have been on Cameron's Cameron also has a podcast called Everyone's Better Than Me, and
we've heard about it. We've heard it.
Yeah, he brings people on the podcast that help him get better at a very specific thing. And when I was going on his podcast several months ago, I very specifically listened to a number of episodes just to get the gist of what it was. This one, I have to admit, I did not listen to at all. I fully trusted you to be like...
I prefer that, actually.
I think I know what it's about. I sort of took it as like a oh, hello situation of like, I feel like the guests always went in sort of blind and then they got surprised about what happened. I was like, I'll just go in fully blind and you'll...
I mean, that's pretty much, yeah.
I'll figure out the game along the way.
Is we're just going to get you all liquored up and see what kind of wacky, crazy stuff that you'll say on it.
Good.
And not too wacky, not too crazy.
Oh,
wacky and crazy.
No, let's keep the doors open for wacky and crazy.
Keep it
Let's
zany.
not cut ourselves off too early.
I'm wacky. No, I had too much fun already. That's why.
That's true.
I have no water.
Are you taking my metaphorical keys away already? And we're like 5 minutes into this recording.
All right, we gotta keep it.
All right, should we take a shot?
Let's. So what we're shooting here is it's Jameson cold brew edition. Because we got the Irish whiskey and now we got an Irish
frozen Irish coffee.
Frozen Irish coffee and then Irish whiskey with coffee. It's really
that
just
we featured before.
It's a bit of a hat on a hat.
Yeah,
but
100%.
Okay. I mean, we're both Sondheim fans, so I like a hat on a hat.
I do like a hat on a hat.
We can talk about our mutual love of Sondheim later.
It
is a frequent topic at Sink or Sing, our mic.
It's
because Cameron also
a lot of musical theater.
I just want to spend this whole episode referencing Cameron while he's not here. Do you ever watch?
You're just gonna give him the biggest FOMO of.
Well, no, I'm gonna give him a starring role while having to not come here. Did either of you ever watch My So-Called Life?
No.
With Claire Danes and Jared Leto. So it was one season in the 90s. It was like kind of a teen drama. It was like quite serious. It was like she plays a character named Angela, and then he plays this guy named Jordan Catalano, and she's kind of like this shy, not quite nerd, but sort of like this insular indie alt girl, as you do in the 90s. He's like the cool guy that she's really into, and then she's got this other guy who's into her, Brian, but she's like kind of friend zoning him. But the conceit is that her friend is in like a band, maybe with Jordan, maybe not. I'm trying to remember it as a show from 20 plus years ago that I've only seen like maybe twice all the way through. But basically her friend,
hard selling the show.
Her friend is in a band, like her best friend in the show that I think Jordan's in, but they have this running joke. It only went for one season. It got canceled unexpectedly. So there's, like hanging plot lines and things that they didn't expect to have to, kind of leave hanging that they did. And so her friend constantly references this person, Tito, and they're like, oh, as soon as Tito gets his drums repaired, we're gonna get the band back together. And that's the whole thing, is that like as soon the band is not together right now, but it's because Tino's busy doing this, Tino's busy doing Y, like whatever.
Tino's always somewhere.
Tito, and you never see him on screen. And hypothetically, in like a season 2 or a season 3, should the show have been renewed, you might have met Tito. But now it's this really funny idea of like this character who's like in the universe that is there but is not there in person. And so I like the idea for this specific podcast recording, Cameron being here but not here, that we just keep talking about him and he is not in the room while it's happening.
In theory, you know, to the
theory, we could just call him.
We could be making Cameron up.
Oh, in theory, he could be not a person.
I mean, has he even been on this podcast?
Who's to say?
You know, or was it just James and I switching seats really quick in order to give the impression that...
Or was it like a weird, like, what was that Leonardo Shelter Island? What was that weird Leonardo DiCaprio?
Shutter Island.
Shutter Island. Was it a weird Shutter Island or like Fight Club situation?
I am Cameron.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Cameron is your like other persona.
Lifting up a daiquiri is like, what?
Wow, that's...
Well, people do think I'm Jewish.
Cameron is not Jewish. I think we've established this already. Off mic, but I think, yeah.
Okay.
Are you from Kentucky as well?
Well,
fried chicken.
As ubiquitous in the Bronx as it is in Kentucky.
100%.
Those are the two places that fried chicken
it's cultural
is like
staple.
a hallmark.
Only
is fried chicken appropriately served in the Bronx in Kentucky. Otherwise, everywhere else. Okay, you are verging on taking a shot without us doing it.
I want it so bad.
All right, fine. Let's just, you know what? Let's do it, and then we'll get to the other. We'll get to business later. Cheers.
1, 2, 3, sláinte it. That tastes like coffee.
What a bad idea.
And whiskey. So
I'm gonna reach off frame here.
When we
we're gonna fill this up again.
Oh boy.
Oh God.
When we previously,
you're gonna have to order me food and or an Uber home to justify that.
I'll swipe you on the train.
It's got caffeine in it. You're good. All
right.
It'll keep you awake. It's keeping me awake.
Oh sure.
So you were saying you want espresso martinis.
Yes.
Bullet point. Last time we featured espresso martinis, we were trying to incorporate this here Jameson cold brew. And what's interesting about it, now we're going to get into the tasting aspect. What I think's kind of neat is it doesn't really taste like coffee liqueur.
No, not at all.
No.
It tastes
not
like,
the way that I expected it to.
Yeah, like Kahlua doesn't really taste like coffee.
So in my family, this is an interesting personal tidbit. In my family, I want to say it was just at Christmas. These are my memories as like a child. What we called sombreros were the drink to serve at the holiday. And it was basically a White Russian, but instead of, is vodka the liquor in a White Russian?
Yeah.
Instead of vodka, it was Kahlua. So it was basically Kahlua and milk over ice.
Just Kahlua and milk?
I believe so. And they were called sombreros, at least by my grandmother.
So it's just minus an ingredient?
Because the typical White Russian is Kahlua, milk, or heavy cream if you want to do it the way the Big Lebowski does it.
Maybe it was half and half instead of heavy cream.
And then you splash in vodka just to kind of loosen it up
so
a little
I
bit.
guess it was just minus the vodka because my this is well before I was drinking age. This is like I was in elementary school.
And she was throwing them back.
I was crushing them right before nap time. I was throwing back 2-3 a day. No.
I believed you. I don't know what's wrong with me. I really believed you for a moment.
In my memory, it was because it was much. I've seen the Big Lebowski a number of times, and it was much darker than a White Russian in the Big Lebowski. So that leads me to believe that it was just Kahlua and heavy cream, and that there was no third liquor involved,
right?
As opposed to a White Russian. But they were called sombreros, and what I enjoyed about my growing up experience is that it was kind of reversed in what you imagine most like 80s or 90s households to be, in that the women would sit around and drink cocktails and the men would do all the cooking and cleaning, like as like a full reverse of like a I guess you can go back and forth like a Mad Men situation. Yeah, it was like my grandmother and all my aunts and like female cousins would sit around, have a cocktail, and the men would be in the kitchen grilling and cooking and getting all the plates together.
Oh God, I love that shit. Oh yeah.
What a like weirdly feminist childhood I had in the late 90s. Yeah, exactly.
The late 90s and in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and
no less.
There's a joke that Cambridge is called the People's Republic of Cambridge. I'm not from Cambridge. I'm from the town next door, but I say Cambridge because it's more accurate than saying Boston. And I'm not a masshole because I don't drive.
We'll be the
mostly.
judge of that. No.
You'll be the judge of that. I don't drive. And I feel like the term masshole most comes out when you talk about people's driving.
100%.
Yeah, and I have never had driver's license. I failed my driver's test, and then I was like, I'm going to take it again. And then I went to college.
Wait, you don't have a driver's license?
No, I've never had driver's license.
Of the 3 people here, am I the only one with a driver's license?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, man.
And yet, I still make fun of massholes at work.
If shit were to go down, I'm the only one who can drive us out of here legally.
They can't even fucking drive, man.
Well, so I had my permit in high school like everyone else, and then I took my first driving test and I failed, which a lot of people do, and then they just go take it again. And then I went out of state for college, and by the time I was like, I'm going to come back, take it again, my permit had expired. And so then I was like, well, to renew your permit is so annoying. And I live at this college where like parking, like having a car on campus and paying for it is more expensive than I can afford right now. And I don't have a car. Sorry, I didn't mean to I don't have a car that I would bring to campus anyway. It's not like I had a car sitting at home that I was like waiting to bring to school. I was like, I don't have a car. I don't have anywhere to park it. It's way more expensive than I can afford. What is the point? And most of my friends drove and or had cars or access to a car at that point. So I sort of just mooched off people for the next 3 years. And then I moved immediately to New York City.
You were built for here. You were built for a mass transit city.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have no reason to live a place that doesn't have 24-hour public transportation.
So here's a stupid question for you. If you could have a license for anything, but just one license, like what would it be?
I mean, I think a motorcycle license is the coolest answer.
That is a pretty badass answer.
A pilot license is the Miyazaki and or the Top Gun answer, because Miyazaki, I've been watching a lot of Miyazaki films recently, and he is obsessed with flying.
What's the one Miyazaki movie about the dude who was like obsessed with designing planes?
I think it's The Wind Rises, which is his last one.
Yeah.
Which is the one where he like made it and then he was like, I'm retiring. And then in like 2017, 2018, he was like, JK, I'm not going to retire.
His son took over and made a bad movie. Yeah. So then he came back and was like...
And now he's got one more being released like at New York Film Festival and Toronto Film Festival like later this year in 2023.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so that's going to be his last one. I'm desperately waiting for New York Film Festival tickets to go on sale so I can see it before everyone else. But Miyazaki is really into flying.
I believe that.
Yeah, it's like a whole thing for him.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing.
Kiki's delivery service.
I just thought the
Kiki's
castle
delivery
was
service,
just
of course.
up there for no reason.
Howl's Moving Castle. Underrated, controversial opinion. Howl's Moving Castle, underrated Miyazaki film. Should be more watched than it is.
I really
it's
saw
so
it.
good.
That was the main. I swear, I grew up thinking,
it was the first one I saw, which is kind of a weird one to start on, but like it is so good.
I'm older than you, and I just remember being young, very young.
Yeah.
Kiki's Delivery Service was like a revelation for me. But Howl's Moving Castle, all my friends, everybody I know, that's their film.
As an adult, I think it's like the film. Like Kiki's Delivery Service, I think if you watch it as a child and you see it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Howl's Moving Castle as an adult
100%
still captivates me in a way that is different and more nuanced. And like, so here's the thing. Okay, you're going to roast me anyway, but I'm just going to go ahead and say I haven't seen Ponyo yet.
Are you on? It's so good.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I saw Howl's Moving Castle.
I haven't seen Howl's Moving Castle.
All of Studio Ghibli, all of Miyazaki films, but all of Studio Ghibli films really were on my list of like things to watch. It was like I'm gonna get to it someday, and then I started dating someone who was very into Studio Ghibli films, and I have this sort of break between I just finished teaching summer school and I am teaching after school in the fall, and so I'm sort of on vacation right now between the end of summer school in the beginning of fall semester. So I've started working my way through the Studio Ghibli playbook in a way that I really should have done 10 or even maybe 20 years ago when I was an actual child.
It's never too late.
Ponyo is one that I'm waiting to watch, like, with the person I'm dating, because they have said it's one of, if not their favorite Miyazaki film. And so I am like, all right, I'll save the one for you. The other ones I've been watching in my free time. So I just for the first time watched, and feel free to roast me as much as you want, but I just for the first time watched Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, and My Neighbor the Yamadas, which is an early Ghibli film that is not Miyazaki.
I haven't even heard of that one.
It is delightful. It's really so kind of a slice of life. It's different animation. It's very cute. It's really like an hour and 40 minutes of like sitting on a marshmallow.
It's literally been such a heavy influence in slice of life anime.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely so amazing. Ponyo, I'm so excited for you to see it because it's absolutely amazing.
I can't wait. I accidentally have kept sending my boyfriend gifts from Ponyo, and he keeps just being like, I can't believe you haven't seen it yet, because I've sent him like 3 gifts last week that are of different Ponyo.
You're
like
referencing it like you know it.
Yeah, but I have no idea what it is. Here's the thing, though. It's mostly about the food and Studio Ghibli. Can we talk about Studio Ghibli food for a minute? Because, oh my God, I don't know that any food has ever been better committed to film than Studio Ghibli food.
Oh, for
Only
sure.
one.
Like the breakfast and how... Oh, wait, go ahead.
Only one.
What?
And that's Hannibal.
The TV show?
Yes. The food in Hannibal is fucking amazing.
Isn't
looking.
it just people?
But it's not really people.
It's
like animals.
But
which is not... I know I'm vegan, but it looks
good.
good.
It's prop people.
But
it looks fucking good. Have you ever seen that show?
No.
I have never seen that show either.
If you watch the show,
it's
literally Ghibli and Hannibal side by side.
No, but Ghibli does do, like, as far as animation and just the rendering of making food.
It's amazing.
It's so, and they do a lot of abstract things with the food.
Well, the breakfast from Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh my God.
It's probably the best one because so many of them are beautiful, but I think the breakfast from Howl's Moving Castle is the best one because you have Calcifer underneath cooking it, and you have Billy Crystal's voiceover. Oh, that's honestly really smart. I might just do that as well.
Just throw it in.
I wanted to do it on the first one, but I wanted the camaraderie of us taking a shot together. But I was really like, I just want to pour it into my coffee and drink my coffee.
I think that's the way to do it.
But the breakfast from Howl's Moving Castle, the whole feast from Spirited Away, which I admittedly I haven't seen, but I know of it as a cultural reference, and I've seen the GIF a million times, and he's just doing the thing of like,
haven't seen Spirited Away.
You yell at me all you want.
Of
it's
all
on
the things.
I know.
I get Ponyo is underrated, which is why I get why you haven't seen it.
Well, but I really like the ocean. But I understand that Ponyo is one about the ocean. I have a tattoo of a humpback whale on my ankle. Like, I like the ocean.
You have failed as a person who loves the ocean.
You can't yell at me. I'm an Aquarius. That's not fair.
The water bringer, and you still haven't seen Ponyo.
Now I will leave right now.
My personal favorite is Princess Mononoke, and I think between
that, which one?
The Ghibli.
No, of all the Ghibli, or for the food in Ghibli, or just of a Ghibli movie in general?
Just of the Ghibli movies.
Oh, okay. I thought we were still talking about food because I was going to say the food in Ponyo with the ramen, and then he takes the ham off of it.
So this guy.
Wait, are you referencing a specific scene in Ponyo and yet have not?
Yeah, because I sent the gift to my boyfriend of it, and he was like Ponyo, and I was like, I didn't know that was from Ponyo. I just did Studio Ghibli food and picked the one that was funniest, and it happened to be from Ponyo.
I think Ponyo's cute. I do like that movie. Spirited Away, I think, has the best food in my opinion. But
fair, because I've seen
radicalized me.
So here's the thing. That's hilarious because the person that I've been talking to, I've been dating, we got, for Angelica, we got tickets. They do the Ghibli.
Yeah, they were doing a Ghibli Fest. Well, IFC was doing the same thing all summer. They did Ghibli, Fest, and I'm a member at the IFC Center, so I get, half-price tickets. And I simply all summer looked at it and was like, I'm going to go, and then I didn't go. And now I've been like, I actually really want to go see movies because I have a break from summer school, and they're not doing it anymore. Like, it's over, basically, and I'm like, that sucks for me personally.
That's a bummer.
Me and the person I was dating,
summer bummer.
We got tickets.
Yeah, I mean they're all on HBO Max.
We missed the show,
but to see it in
theater. So we got tickets. for Princess Mononoke.
Hey!
Because I got to pick, and it's not happened yet. It's in like 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
And I'm absolutely, that's like my favorite. Of all of them, that's like my favorite.
Well, here's the thing, like, 2 days ago, I was going to stream a Ghibli movie because they're all on Max right now, essentially. And I have a Max subscription from a family member.
Nice.
And I was like, I texted the person, my boyfriend, I was like, which one of these, and I listed like 3 or 4 of them, and I said, which one is the least sad? Because I can't handle a sad thing. And he said, My Neighbor Totoro, by far, of whatever I listed. And I think Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke were both on the list, and he was like, don't watch either of those if you don't want to be sad right now.
No, that's wrong.
And I watched Totoro, and it is delightful.
It is.
It's so sweet. It is a sister movie, which I love. I mean, I don't have a sister. I didn't have a sister growing up, but I adore a sister. Right? I have a twin brother, and
I didn't know it was I didn't know he was a twin.
Yeah, I have one sibling, and it's my twin brother, and through him, by proxy, I'm getting a sister because he's getting married. And I am in their wedding, so I'm getting a sister. I'm getting a sister-in-law, but I will just simply call her my sister.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm the maid of honor / I think on their wedding website it says best woman because it's a combo of like best man and
you're just the best.
Why don't you be the best person? I don't know. It's so
I'm just
gendered.
the best person at the wedding.
Listen, you are first title card of the wedding.
The two of them are below.
And then them's two, and then the person officiating it.
Yeah,
it's
best
like
woman, bride and groom, officiant. Oh, absolutely. No, I am like the director. I'm one of those like executive. This is really bad. I'm like in a non-problematic way. I'm like the Scott Rudin or the Harvey Weinstein of the wedding, where I just insist that my title comes first before whoever actually made the movie. I'm like, no, you did all the work. You're the one who like made this happen, but I am the star of it.
I'm the reason we're
obviously
all
both garbage human beings. But can I? Oh, do I want this committed to audio or not?
Double down on it. You're in it now.
It's game over.
Several years ago, I interviewed for a position at one of their offices. I won't specify which one of those 2 people, but it was one of those 2 people that I was going to work for one of them in like a general office assistant-y kind of situation. And in the interview, I was asked, how do you deal with working for difficult people or difficult bosses? And immediately to me that was like a working red flag. Like, oh no, I don't want to work here.
Yeah.
And this was a person who was famous for screaming at office assistants or screaming at their staff, like being, you know, generally.
That they gave you the like point blank in the interview.
Well,
too,
and here's the thing, because I think I had asked the person of like, because when they get to I'm an incredibly honest person, I'm an incredibly upfront person. So when we got to the part of like, do you have any questions? I had said like, oh, what's your history of the company, or like how long have you worked here? What is your sort of trajectory working here? Because I always like to know that if it's like, oh, I started as an assistant and I worked my way up, or like, oh, I've been here for 6 years, I love my job. Right. It's like it's either green flag or a red flag. Like, oh, either you love working here or this is a terrible place to work. Don't go here.
and they're kind of blinking in Morse code at you.
Yeah,
to just
like
get out.
Help me. Get out while you still can.
Exactly.
And they had essentially said that they'd worked there for maybe like 8 months, and in the 8 months they'd been promoted from the position I was applying for to like a senior staff member who was interviewing assistants.
Terrifying.
And that even at like 22, 23, I was like, oh, that's bad. Like someone
that's not career growth. That's a problem.
I in 6 months don't want to be interviewing people for my position because no one else has been willing to stick around as long. And then many years later, many articles came out about whether or not you were in a certain position or a certain type of person, whether or not you were like an actor or a director or just like a hopeful assistant, whatever, that it was basically a miserable. Do you remember there was a movie that came out called The Assistant?
Oh, yeah.
It came out 2021 with the girl from Ozark who won the Emmy like twice. What is her name? Julia Garner.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yes, she essentially was playing an assistant who worked for an incredibly problematic person, and she spent the whole day like cleaning up their problems. That is in my head. I was like, oh, that's what that job would have been.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Do you think that's what you'd say your number one red flag is when interviewing for a job?
Of like that they're a difficult person?
Of just like, someone admittedly saying like, oh, they're difficult to work for. Because some of the red flags that I've learned to find are some ones that where
some more subtle ones
about like the type of responsibility and community fostered within a company.
Whenever they say like, "Oh, we're a family," things like that, where you're like, "Okay, cool, so I'm gonna get underpaid."
I'm gonna get underpaid and overworked.
Person who works for the big multi-billion-dollar company, who has to deal with monthly multiple meetings, who's in charge of people, whose job is to manage people. Hope they don't see this because I'm planning on unionizing. Those big companies.
We love a union, clearly.
Because the reality is that like in those meetings, and it's not a joke, because the person that I talk to, we actually work together because I got her job because that's what you do, and she listens to the meetings.
The only thing that makes a terrible job better is great coworkers, and like the worst jobs I've had, I do think back to the people, like the jobs I've had where I've been underpaid or not paid at all, or like the jobs where I've been most mistreated or yelled at by a boss or like humiliated in front of, customers, whatever. Like I do think back to the people that were good to me and the people that were like terrible. You know what I mean? I think back to like the bad boss I've had, but the good coworkers who made it like bearable.
Well, like and trauma bonds like that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's how we met.
Yeah. Well, that's how you guys met.
Yeah, we
actually. How did you two met?
So actually. Funny story. Sorry. My neighbor, who owned the brownstone, I was walking down the street one day, and we had a conversation. And he invited me in. I spoke to him and his wife, and then when I needed a job, I asked him, and he gave me a job working in his restaurant.
Ooh.
And he was working in a liquor store.
That was next door to the restaurant.
And I had an autistic moment where he came in, and we were having a conversation, and he said, "I like cold brew," and I was like, "Cold brew," because I knew he worked at the liquor store.
Yeah.
I was like, I just hate your hyperfixation.
I was like, "Cold brew, I'll make you cold brew. I know cold brew." So he didn't even know me, and I went home and I made cold brew, and I went to the liquor store.
Oh yeah,
and I brought him
cold
brew. And then
he bought. Here's the thing. That's a thing that you kind of do because so we're recording this on a Friday for context, and I ran into you on Wednesday at a thing I wasn't expecting to go to, and then unexpectedly had availability for and was in the same neighborhood as a comedy open mic. Unexpectedly had time, was in the neighborhood, and was like, I'm going to drop by this thing. You and Cameron were both there.
Real quick, before you finish this story, just know that it is technically illegal to distribute homemade distilled spirits. So
an unidentified object.
Yes.
So
we
Chandler
just talked about this yesterday.
An unidentified item on his person
that you can see in the last episode of Behind the Bar.
Yeah, we just did a little profile.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
continue.
Chandler was carrying an unidentified item that he after this comedy mic was over, and
I had
we were
procured it.
Yeah, we were kind of hanging around, just catching up with each other, the three of us, and he was like, I have said item. Would the two of you like to,
sample?
Yeah, partake in it. And Cameron and I were both like, sure, why not? You're our friend. We trust you. And you had us try said item, and whew, oh my God, what an absolute journey.
Can I just say, for you, that was like 2 days ago, and for me, it was also 2 days ago.
Because I immediately came here afterwards with the same thing, and we finished the jar.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Not only did we finish the jar.
Knowing how much I consumed, versus how much was left in the jar when you and I departed at the train stop.
Mm-hmm. We didn't just consume it. We then went back and drank the unaged
Can I tell
version
you
of
what
that.
I told Chandler when he imparted said item upon me? As I said, this would be delightful when paired with either a mulled wine type item. I said this would be great. So I studied abroad in this weird program that took you to a variety of European countries, one of which was Prague. And my main takeaway in Prague, unlike most people go to Prague and they go to like absinthe bars, or like underground kind of like synthy discotheque type situations where you're out till 7 a.m. I was not in that scene yet. I was more of a mulled wine hang around the farmer's market scene, which I still am in daylight hours.
That sounds fun as hell.
It was great. But at the time, so when Chandler and I had said experience together, I was like, this would go great with a mulled wine where you have wine and spices and this product involved as well. And then I said this would also pair very well with an apple cider. Like, this feels like a fall product that you're imparting upon me, and it is still simply the end of August. I
I may have.
I need to hold on. What date
hold
we're
on.
Up. This feels like an end of.
I need to say no, not quoted.
Really?
Not quoted. He came here and like, absolutely as if it was his idea.
You used my review as your sales pitch to get James also involved.
Exactly.
So once again, an example of a man ripping off a woman's work to gain some sort of acclaim or progress.
I thought I could navigate this world just keeping it hidden how much I hate women.
Absolutely not.
But no, it turns out
you really hate women.
It's just I don't want to see.
He loves honestly
a woman succeed.
Keep a woman down.
Neat.
That's it.
Okay, but like sometimes keeping a woman down is a fun thing if you're doing it correctly.
Well, only if you can monetize
Here's the thing:
it.
I am the type of person who will make a dirty joke whenever no matter how wide, if the door is open an inch or a foot, I will
kick it off its hinges.
Exactly. Yeah, I will wedge my way in there.
Oh, we were chatting
I used to
earlier.
do that. That's how I lost 2 inches.
It could be a centimeter open, and I will find an opening.
We were chatting earlier just about dirty stuff, and you had mentioned that you were a what was it, women's studies major? And
I was a double major in college in communications with a concentration. So in the college I went to, they had a communications major, and there were essentially 2 tracks. You could do like not even film criticism, but sort of like marketing, like cultural communications, like that sort of, almost like neoliberalism studies kind of vibe, or it was like a straight up like technical film studies major, and I picked that route. And then I had to pick a minor because the school I was at required you to have a minor, and I was going to do a women's studies minor, and then I realized I only had to take 2 extra classes to make it a double major, and I was like, well, yeah, of course I'm just gonna do that. Fine. What am I gonna take 2 extra like English classes? Because then I would have just had 2 minor. Like I could have had a major and 2 minors, or I could have had 2 majors, and I just chose to have 2 majors. Yeah. So I was a film and women's studies double major.
So did you ever take any classes on like human sexuality and that kind of
I took a class called Queer Lives, which was sort of inadvertently about sexuality, but it was more about queerness in America and American history. Like I remember I watched And the Band Played On, which I believe was like the HBO like dramatized version. Then I remember watching How to Survive a Plague, which was the document. They were both about the AIDS crisis in the 80s, but one was a dramatized version that had like Matthew Modine in it, and one was like a documentary.
Okay.
And so I remember talking about that. I remember I wrote a paper, I believe, on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and queerness portrayed in Brooklyn Nine-Nine and like sitcoms in
Interesting.
general. Well, because they have 2. You have Rosa, who comes out as bisexual later, and then you have Captain Holt, who is gay and married. And they're both police officers, but they're also both people of color, and they're also both gay. And I thought that was very interesting. And
I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, and
even though ACAB, right?
But
how do you reconcile that part?
ACAB, but
because
also
it's a TV show and it's fictional.
No, but watching it, every time you watch it, a black person gets beaten in the streets.
But like,
no, they had an episode about
one of their own getting arrested.
Was that like the last season?
No, it was like in season. It was way before 2020. No, it was in like
before George Floyd.
It was in like 2014, maybe. It was like early. Whereas like one of their own is just like outside of his own house getting a toy that his daughter, his like infant daughter dropped.
The
on the
only
street.
clip I've ever seen from Brooklyn
And then another,
Nine-Nine.
it's Terry, because it's Terry Crews. It's Terry Crews playing.
Sergeant? Was he the sergeant?
Was he a sergeant at that point? Maybe.
He wasn't the lieutenant yet.
Yeah, but then he like one of his, infant twin daughters like dropped a toy outside, and so he goes out to look for it in the driveway, and he grabs it, and then another cop comes up and is like, "Oh, you look suspicious, and you're in this neighborhood." And he's like, "I'm also a police officer," and they don't like believe him, and they essentially like cuff him, and then they look up his badge number, and they realize he's a police officer, and it becomes a whole thing where he's like, people don't look at me and think I'm a cop. They just see me for my skin color.
And I gotta applaud Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Not that it's like, oh, they went there, but like, okay, yeah, you are addressing some of the
yeah. And as a person that grew up on, I was gonna say I grew up on Law and Order, and I watched Law and Order constantly as a kid because my mother was just very into it and had it on.
Dude,
kind of as the
same.
If you
That was my
had
dad's
cable
go-to. Yeah.
in the 90s and early 2000s, anytime you turned on like the USA Network or like I don't even know what I guess NBC, right? If it originally aired there, anytime you turned on TV. An episode of Law and Order was on syndication on some network at literally, you could turn on at 6 a.m., you could turn on at midnight.
Wow.
Like at any given moment, you could watch Law and Order. And so it was on constantly in the background of my childhood. And so to watch a show that had police officers, the main characters, and have them actually address like racial inequality was at the time, again.
It's
like
pretty groundbreaking.
now,
crazy,
10
pretty
years
crazy.
later, like...
Well, James, what's your favorite cop show?
Yeah.
Wow. You know,
Rizzoli and
the
Isles.
person who taught me martial arts was both a villain and a victim in Law and Order.
It wasn't,
And-
what's his face from This Is Us?
No, I don't know.
It wasn't Sterling K. Brown.
No, his name is Sensei Riddick, and they film here all the time.
Like the Chronicles of?
Yes, that's his name.
Or like, the guy?
I don't watch no pig shows.
Come
The
on.
Wire. I love The Wire and Oz.
I've never
Oz
seen
is not
I
a
love-
cop show.
There's
It's
lots
a
of
prison
there's
show,
cops.
right?
There's a prison show.
It's a prison show. That's
Cops.
I
That's
would honestly, I would equate CSI as more of a cop show than,
Oh, really?
than Oz.
I don't watch
yeah.
CSI. Who watches CSI?
I did.
There's
all
no
of
mess-
them.
It's like who
I
watches
watched
Friday the
all,
Scorpion?
I watched
Bro.
all three of them
Okay,
and
you-
every
okay,
season.
You were going against two
Does
CSI
anybody
Law and
here-
Order kids.
Listen, I am someone who not only did I watch every
Which
season
which
of
CSI?
every spin-off,
Las Vegas.
all four of them. There are four versions of CSI.
Vegas?
There's the original, which is Vegas.
Miami?
There's Miami. There's New York.
York.
London.
No, there's New York, and then there's CSI Cyber, which has
No.
Ted Danson and Patricia Arquette.
Isn't it Sydney? Don't they have one in
No.
like? Is that not in the U.S.?
No,
I
Absolutely
think they're
not.
only U.S.
I think they're only U.S. based.
Because
So I watched all
you said
four
Miami,
CSI.
New York. I'd never heard of the
Not
Cyber
only was Cyber was in like 2014, 2015. So if you had watched the originals, you were totally off the franchise by then. But I was such a CSI fan that as I was coming into myself as a writer and as a creative, and also as just a human being, because I was like 12, and I can't believe I am revealing this on your podcast, wrote CSI fan fiction.
one. Love it. Love it. Was it?
I'm humiliated to be alive
no,
right now.
but which CSI was it? Was it the original?
It was Miami.
Oh, okay, that's embarrassing.
Excuse me, only person who's never written fan fiction here. You can't judge.
I've written fan fiction.
For what?
Yeah, which
For
fandom,
what?
which
I've written fan
franchise?
fiction.
Wait, for what? You first and then him. Which one?
I used to write a naughty Inuyasha fanfic.
Which one?
Inuyasha is an anime from like the 90s, and I used to
Oh, is
write
that the one
naughty.
with the little cat ears?
Yes, because Inuyasha, right, means it's like a dog demon, and they used to have a little puppy dog, little guy with them, and a guy whose hand was big and could suck anything into it. You know, and then there was another one who was like a sexy Sephiroth type dog guy thing. I used to write nasty, naughty,
nasty,
Cowboy
naughty shit.
Bebop and Inuyasha fan fiction. Okay,
And then Chandler, what about you?
Okay, so I wrote a little fan fiction for.
Thank God, by the way, I was really worried that I was going to be the only one, and then you two were just going to shame the hell out of me. I'm really glad that the reveal said all three of us at one point wrote fan fiction.
I did History of the World, but it was a fan fiction of History of the World Part 1 updated.
Like the Mel Brooks series?
Yep.
Oh God, here we go. Here we go. Here we
Yep.
go.
And
Here
it
we go.
was and it was before the new Hulu series. had-
Well, yeah, because I assume you wrote it like 10 years ago.
Is it a fan fiction if you
3
write a
years
sequel?
ago?
like 4 years ago.
If you write a
So
sequel,
pre-pandemic, but like,
That's still fan fiction.
if you write a sequel,
yes, absolutely.
no, because your whole dream was before it came out. I'm gonna just out you.
Well-
Your whole dream was that you would write it,
Well,
and then
I-
Mel Brooks would see it, and then you would have written part 2.
Well,
Well,
no,
I
and then
have
he
a-
would be my grandpa because that's what I want. I just want the attention and validation.
There's a difference between. So I have a spec script of The Simpsons. It's the only spec script that I have that I think I've submitted into a contest or is discoverable on Coverfly.
Okay.
Like, but that is different than the CSI fanfiction that I have on fictionfiction.net.
Was it dirty?
No.
Could it be?
It could be now if
Could
I went
be.
back and rewrote it, but it was I was 12 when I was writing it, so it
Can
really
we
better
make
not
it
be.
dirty?
You said fanfiction.net? This is how you know that you're not in a fan fiction no more,
Oh.
because apparently
Okay,
they don't
Mr.
use that no more.
Gatekeeper over here.
No, I just learned that there's like a whole new fan fiction
Archive of
platform.
our own?
There's a newer one.
What's the newer?
I don't know. Zenny, the
it's not-
the A's,
Well,
the Gen A's are
okay,
into
here's
it.
the thing.
Oh.
Tumblr was the first one.
Oh.
Well, no.
Excuse me.
Even LiveJournal.
Meteorminer.org.
I don't know what that one is.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
I was going to say it
Org.
went LiveJournal, then
Zanga.
Tumblr,
LiveJournal and
then
Zanga at the same
fanfiction,
time.
then Archive of Our Own.
Blogger, the Blogger, Zanga, that's all at the same
no,
time.
I don't know what any of this is.
I know you, because
You're just making up words.
I'm old.
Yeah,
I don't believe you.
I'm sorry.
I also don't believe you.
I have the archives of my Zanga on my blog. No, don't look at it. It's really sad.
All of those words in a row were not a sentence in the English language.
I feel a little like.
I met my
I
own
think we're
girlfriend.
Am I a
being punked
sleeper
right
cell?
now.
No,
Wait. I met
I
my.
think this is all a prank, and later you're gonna be like, "No, I just fooled those white bitches. None of those were anything."
I met my ex, who was a German, who moved to Georgia
That
on a
feels
poetry
racist, but I'm sure it's not.
on
But,
a
like,
poetry
You can
website.
be racist
It
against
was
anyone.
Poetry.org.
It's the German.
It's the German.
Yeah, it's the German. I met her at poetry.org, and I met her in the comments, and she sent me her Zanga, and then
What? So Zanga, I'm guessing
it's like a blog. It's like a blog thing.
Where's the Z come from?
No, it's X.
Zanga?
X-A-N
Oh, so like
G-A, Zanga.
okay.
Yeah. And
So
then you
it's-
have a song, you know, and then I met some
Here's
girls.
the thing. Meeting someone in the comment section of a poetry
Because I
website
made, I made
is the
fun.
queerest thing in the entire
Wait, hold on, hold on.
world. And I am queer. I can say that. Don't yell at me. But that is
Well,
the queerest thing in the entire world.
I don't know if you know whose house you're in, but there's no shame of queerness here.
Great.
You know. Yeah. I met her because I was making some guy. I'm such an asshole. Some guy wrote
Again,
poetry.
but we're talking about that we all wrote fan fiction. There is, I think, just a thin layer of, you know, when you like leave like a latte too long, or you're making like chocolate milk with milk, or like hot chocolate with milk, and there's just a layer of like, you know,
Splits.
skin or
It
whatever.
splits.
Yeah, it splits. That is, I feel like, what happens the minute any three people say that they all wrote fan fictions. There's just that layer of queerness until
And
any
just-
one person is like, wait, but I'm actually straight. We're just going to allow
Well, actually,
that
just so you
to
know,
sit.
just so you know, as I was telling you earlier before we were recording, that church where I grabbed my first boob,
Yeah.
sucked my first dick. Just saying, you got to do it.
You gotta do it.
You got to do it.
It's church.
You
What
know?
else are you gonna do
The dick was the pastor's nephew, and the breast
Even
was the
better.
niece.
there? Wait,
Yeah.
were they?
That is separate or
No, they
some-
were related, and they didn't know.
No, but like, how far apart were these incidents?
Very close.
Like the same
At the same, like at the
day?
same time. No,
Back
not at the same time. Like in the same
to
month.
back.
They didn't know. It was downstairs, and we had a little stage and
And
a
then
little
he
room for
ran-
him.
ran
and for
upstairs
her,
and-
I used to ring the bell for the church,
And he'd
I would
yell,
take her.
"Sanctuary."
Say, I would no.
Wait, did you-
You think I'm fucking joking? Hunchback. Fuck this. Disney movie is my favorite. Hunchback. People fucking underestimate that fucking movie.
No, Hunchback is great. Hunchback is
so
also
amazing.
One. Here's the thing. So I was just, my boyfriend, the person I'm dating, is a big Disney fan. Not like a Disney adult, just like really enjoys those early animated movies. And we were talking about how all of the remakes have gotten out of hand. Like
100%.
The early ones, some of them you can justify more than others. you
Except
know
for
what I
the
mean?
one good one, but it has a black person in it, so
Which
nobody
one?
saw it. The Little Mermaid one was not terrible.
I know, but yeah, no one saw it.
But nobody saw it.
But we were talking about which ones were more justified than others, and what I love to do is go into the Wikipedia section of like production or like future things, or like canceled remakes. So they'll be like, oh, we were gonna do this one, then it got canceled for reason X, Y, and Z. So I love to go into that section, and the thing in the like, sorry,
No,
in
that happens here.
in the section
Was that
that's
in
like,
good taste?
It was not. Well, I was, because I didn't burp straight into the mic. I sort of leaned off camera. Sure.
We're gonna finish it.
I mean, we have
Don't
to
go too
finish
heavy
the
because
bottle.
there's not a lot left.
Yeah, same. Yeah, give me like a half shot and see what happens.
All right, how much we got left here?
Oh, that would be great. A quarter of a shot for me.
Is that-
Ideal.
Oh, okay, I'll take the rest.
Yeah, give James the rest. and I
Sorry,
will
you can continue. I'm being distracting.
Of the section that was like reboots that were like talked about at one point or like died, went into development hell or like things that they consider and then someone backed out. One of them was a Hunchback remake, and they were like for obvious like modernistic sensibility reasons.
Probably not a good look.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what the other one was. It was Pocahontas.
Yeah,
they're like for just obvious modern taste reasons.
I've heard.
Was that in good taste to make a Pocahontas remake? No, that's why they're not doing it.
I heard.
I think they could do it right if they.
I'm not joking. I've heard that they've still been like
they're still trying to figure it out.
Because the thing is that can completely work, but that's like a separate thing.
Here's the problem with it. I would again, as a admittedly incredibly white person, the problem that I would say is that it's not the specific plot line of the Pocahontas Disney movie that's the problem. It's the larger historical moment that they're portraying that is the problem. It's the larger context.
Well, it's probably not going to happen because the other ones haven't been. Have you
Also,
noticed? I'm just saying.
I think they could do it if you just took out the whole John Smith narrative.
But that's like 90%. Isn't that most?
But then it's Sacagawea. But then it's Sacagawea.
But then it's just Sacagawea. And here's the other thing: they just from not that I support Disney in any conceivable way, although I've worked for that company multiple times at this point, but I am literally on strike against them.
By the way, oh shit, struck work. Damn.
Yeah, struck work. But I was gonna say,
no work is struck work. Sorry.
I imagine that is one where not only is it like the cultural kind of moment that we're in is not a good idea. I imagine that's just like the box office of the last few have not done very well. And if you're looking at your slate of like what's next and what's going to be a hit, that's not the obvious answer.
And that's what I was going to say, which is that it's not because of the cultural things, because they would have just woke it up if they wanted to.
Well, that's what they're doing in Snow White.
Wait, they're doing a Snow...
But they're not.
Doing
also,
Snow White. Snow
White's coming out, and they've done nothing for it.
It's not just the Rachel Zegler adult. They're not... The Seven Dwarves are not... Only one of them is being portrayed by a little person. The other six are like people of different sizes and ethnicities, and it's been a whole thing as of...
And we've spoken about this off the pod, because I watch a lot of wrestling, and little people in wrestling call themselves the M-word because they want to make money and make business and participate in capitalism, and they're being excluded.
Like 3 able-sized, able-wide people are maybe not the best mascots to talk about this, but perceivably there's a way.
Wait, are you saying it's not in good taste?
No, it's always about like listening to So I listen to people who talk about it, who are little people, and they say that they feel like
I read Peter Dinklage's whole.
You read that as well.
Peter Dinklage's whole statement on why it's not a good idea, and then I was reading other actors who are of the same ilk, their response to it being like, well, actually now you're just taking away roles from us that otherwise would have gone to us because of the nature of the film. But I think you're totally right in that if they wanted to do it really badly, they'd figure it out. But because also the box office
100%
on the last few live action remakes have not been very good, I don't think they're going to
Have you heard have you heard anything of the production of Mufasa? Because they announced it and it's still happening.
I thought it was a Scar thing.
No, it's still happening.
There's a Mufasa.
I thought it was a Scar. I thought it was
Mufasa.
Oh, wait, give me your phone or someone pull out their phone to Google it, because there's a really interesting. I was just looking this up a few days ago, and I was looking up the list of like future Disney remakes, Disney live action remakes that are going to come out.
Mufasa, The Lion King, 2024, July 5th, 2024.
Well, and look, if you go on to
but the thing is, they haven't been announcing anything about it. They haven't put anything out. It's been like radio silent. I was listening earlier to Beyond the Trailer. If you know, you know. And she was talking about the fact that nobody's really sure if they're in production or not, because it's animated, and if everything's written and the voices are done,
then
they're still
be in post-production.
They could be making it, but nobody knows.
Well, look, hold on. There's a whole thing. If you go to, I just fully one of James's phones right now. If you go to,
looks like another phone.
Disney
He's got
Live,
8 more on deck.
He's just fully prepared. If you go to Disney live action adaptations and remakes, and then you go to the upcoming section, and you go through, so Snow White, and then it goes Mufasa and the Lion King, July 5th, 2024. Anyone want to guess who's directing that film?
Oh, I cannot fucking remember.
Right? It's someone you know.
No, it
and the
is.
minute I say it, you're going to be annoyed, but I want to watch you two try to guess first.
I was just listening about this. Hold on.
Yeah.
I don't know shit
So
about anything.
you gotta think about it like this. One,
I don't
you gotta think
know.
about it like this. One, it's a remake. It's Disney.
I don't know Disney directors.
Well, it's Disney likes to give...
Who did Pirates of the Caribbean?
I don't know.
Was that Jerry Bruckheimer?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Bruckheimer.
Oh yeah, it was
for
Bruck.
sure.
Yeah,
it
no,
was
no,
Bruckheimer.
no. It was definitely Bruckheimer. No.
I pulled that
If
out
we're
of
wrong,
my ass.
It literally was Bruckheimer.
No, it literally was Bruckheimer.
That's actually
crazy.
the correct answer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Let's go to a trivia night and get some lotto tickets. I am feeling hot.
Okay,
right
but I
now.
go to trivia night all the time, and the last time I took an edible, the thing that I wanted to do was play a lot of scratch offs. So if you want to go, no, but okay,
So
Okay.
We're getting
Shoot,
derailed.
we're getting really derailed. But if you want to go, trivia night sometime. Let's go.
Who directed Barbie?
No, it's not Greta.
No, it's not Greta. It's not.
But
it's
she's
not Greta.
doing a rewrite of a script of another
she is. That's why I mentioned her,
thing
'cause-
that's coming out.
Yo,
Who
fucking-
is it? Who is
But you know
it?
what the problem I have with
on the edge of
Mufasa
my
is?
seat.
I don't know because
She's one of the credited screenwriters on the Snow White
By the way,
remake.
that's why I said
Sophia
Greta because I know
Coppola.
it's a woman.
No. But Sophia Coppola, I'm very excited for Priscilla, which is coming out. Wait, can I?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You're gonna see some cake. Be careful.
Wow, my spelling is trash.
Well,
What's going on?
What Disney remake, Disney thing would you like to see?
Well,
Me,
here's the problem.
personally?
Either of you. Go.
Well,
whoever.
I think you should. No, you need to go
Because you were doing the phone thing, so I was gonna cover
Yeah.
for you.
Please and thank you.
Fill in airtime.
So here's the thing: is that none of the animated movies really need remakes.
No, absolutely not.
That doesn't mean that they're all bad. They're all like at least mediocre. I feel, except for I didn't really like Lion King that much, even though people really liked it. I thought Aladdin was absolutely mediocre. I would love to see new things, and also
I want to see new things too.
not DreamWorks like things, because that's what Disney's been on. Pixar has been on a make things, because before Pixar used to be like
Pixar's
the
been
Christopher
crushing
Nolan. Pixar used to be the Christopher Nolan of 3D animated movies, and now they've become DreamWorks, and DreamWorks has become Illumination.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
and Illumination
Should
has
we
become.
take this second shot, by
I'm-
the way? Because
I'm
it's
here.
been sitting here for
Yeah.
God knows how long.
All right.
Sláinte.
This is
Cheers.
the coming to a close one.
I thought this was the midway one, but okay.
Now we only do about an hour.
I was ready to go on for like 3+ hours.
Oh boy.
But
Okay,
I've been
let's
listening.
get content.
I've been
Let's-
listening
You
to a
want
lot of Blank Check the podcast, and all their episodes now go for like 2.5, 3 hours. So
You
it's like,
gotta get-
I'm ready.
Listen,
sorry.
we
Also, we
only
have not even talked about our comedy or our writing careers at all. We've fully just talked about other
Just other
comedies.
people.
I
Other
write.
We're talking
entities.
about the industry.
I write.
Yeah, but do
Well,
Damn.
can I
but
just?
do you perform?
Can I say
No.
this director of Mufasa, and then
Yes.
we can talk
Yes.
about it? It's Barry Jenkins.
Oh fuck! I fucking knew
Okay.
that.
Which I gotta be honest, more than a Mufasa spin-off or remake, I want Scar.
I would love that.
I want. I mean, do the
How'd he get his
Cruella thing.
Ooh.
You know, do the Maleficent thing. Make it about the
Especially
villain.
because in the Lion King movie, they cut out the best fucking song. Because the best song in Lion King is "Be Prepared."
Oh,
it
the
is.
fascist
It
one.
literally is the best one.
It is the best song.
You like the Hugo Boss one? You
Be
like
prepared.
How dare you? I am wearing Hugo Boss pants right now
Prepared
on
for
your
what?
podcast.
You like the Audi and Mercedes Benz?
Can I list off the upcoming as
do.
announced Disney either
List
remakes
it.
or
We'll give it a thumbs up or a
adaptations?
thumbs down.
So
All right.
Snow White is the one that's filmed and coming out 2024.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. I don't need to.
I'll go middle. It's unnecessary, but I'm interested.
Listen, Charlize Theron killed being the evil queen. I
Oh,
don't
I
think
know,
we
she's
need to do it.
Oh, wait, are you talking about Angelina Jolie? Or are you talking
No,
about?
I'm talking
Oh,
about
'cause she's the-
Charlize Theron in the
Oh,
Huntsman.
the Huntsman?
Yeah.
Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to do it again.
Mufasa and the Lion King.
I think
Directed by
it's-
Barry Jenkins.
Thumbs
Okay.
up for that one.
I'm medium
I just think that franchise doesn't need to be touched. It's perfect. Let's leave it alone. Jon Favreau, get your hands off
the
of it.
only reason why I'm doing a middle thumb
But-
is because I'm black, and I'm not joking. It's because there's two things. One, Jon Favreau is actually pretty great and pretty talented, and a lot of stuff he touches.
He's quite talented.
It's pretty good.
Jon
So,
Favreau, Dave Filoni, they both did the Star
First of all,
Wars.
they
also
do-
work
they
together
do
on
everything
the
in the Star
Avatar
Wars.
series.
Yeah. Didn't they also do Swingers?
Having the Mufasa thing, I think, gives them opportunity to make an original story and then just pretend it's the Lion King, because they're just gonna make a story about a lion in Africa that's cool and modern, and then at the end he's gonna do the thing from the beginning of the Lion King.
I'm gonna throw just a movie title at you that's going to validate why I'm excited to see an expansion of the Lion King cinematic universe.
Okay.
Lion King 1.5.
Yeah, no, because it's just Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
Oh, I love that
It's
shit.
just the further adventures of Timon and Pumbaa.
Which is
and
the
it's
best
a
thing.
perfect.
And then it's Timon and Pumbaa.
So good.
You know
TV
what?
show.
Okay, can I just say, and I was thinking about this earlier because I've been listening to a lot of Blank Check the podcast. They were talking about actually that movies.
But not was that in your taste?
No, but no. Sorry, I only listen to podcast episodes that are over 2 hours.
We gotta
So
step our
if you
shit
want me
up.
to even listen to this episode that I'm appearing on, we need to be recording for another hour plus.
We can keep going.
We can keep going all day long. But my thing, they were talking about that movies in like the 80s and 90s when they did sequels, it's not like people now will be like, oh, everything has a sequel. Not everything has to have a sequel. Like Jarhead had like 5 sequels. Jaws had like a million. I think they did Jaws 3D.
They just kept
like
going.
it's not that things didn't
Okay.
use. Jurassic Park is like 9 sequels.
But the
It's not that things
difference-
didn't used to be franchise. The difference is that a lot of those were direct to DVD
Yes.
sequels and not being
Yes.
released theaters.
That's true.
And that is part of the reason that I love Lion King 1.5 is that it was one of those, like, I think Lion King has had, I think they even maybe did Lion King 2 and 3, and then they did 1.5, and it's like 1.5 is so great for that reason
and
that
there was
it
a whole-
just, because it was being released to direct DVD, the stakes are so much lower, so
Mm-hmm.
you could just get weirder, and so you're like, yeah, it's literally Rosencrantz, Guildenstern are dead, but with these 2 supporting characters, and it's perfect. I would not change a single frame of that movie.
Here we
and
go.
they made Timon Jewish. They,
He was always Jewish.
I mean, he was always Jewish. But
Pumbaa is also Jewish. For
It's-
the record, Pumbaa is a rabbi.
there are 2 distinct types of Jews. There are Timons, there are Pumbas, and then there is Timon's mom. I just love how I felt so seen in that, where they're like, oh, my baby going out into the world, go develop yourself, but also come back in one piece. Like, I loved that. I loved that whole thing.
Can I circle way back to Disney remakes and
Yeah.
adaptations that are happening? So
Oh.
Snow White and Mufasa are the ones, and
Oh,
this
here we
one
go.
that I'm about to mention are the 3 that have like defined release dates. So I just want to get to the
okay.
third one that has a release date, and then we can sort of talk about the ones
The
that have been like
hypotheticals.
the hypotheticals. The last one that has a defined release date with a director and screenwriters and producers and whatever attached is they want to do a live adaptation of Moana.
Yes, which is already,
Okay.
if I'm correct, it literally is fucking past script. That shit
That-
was they
that
were
one
they
seems
were
too easy
no,
to do.
they
Like,
were
it's-
already fucking
But
filming.
it's so soon.
I literally,
that movie came out in 2016.
I'm not even fucking joking
that
when I
movie
say
came out in 2016, and the release date is 2025.
It
That
hasn't
is
been in the
9
vault long
years
enough.
between the original movie and a live adaptation.
Wait, it's already been 9 years, though?
It's
Yes.
only been 9. No, but
No.
since now it's only been 7 years because it's
Oh,
2023. It will have only been 9 years between the original and the remake.
Time
which
keeps
is
on slipping,
too
slipping,
soon.
slipping.
I'm
too
not even
soon.
trying to get in trouble. Don't be mad at me, but they're so fucking far along on that shit. That shit is fucking coming out.
That one seems
I know
too
it is
easy
because
to
it's
remake.
directed by one of the guys who did. It's directed by Thomas Kail, who was involved in Fosse Verdon, and then was also like the original director of Hamilton, probably as a Tony or whatever, and is maybe,
Multiple.
if I'm correct, if I'm not crazy, if I go into his personal life section, is
If we just go
Wikipedia.
look them up.
married
.com.
to and has had 2 children with Michelle Williams.
Ooh.
So they're definitely, and then one of the executive producers is The Rock. because he voiced in the original.
Right. And of
so
course,
like it's happening.
And no, it's happening. The Rock is really big right now on making himself a big star, which is why he did that whole thing.
He is a star. What are you talking about?
No, he's not a star because he does not have his own franchise, which is why he was doing Black Adam. No, he doesn't. Name one.
Jumanji.
Excuse me, Jumanji. Jumanji doesn't really count as his. That is not his movie. That's an ensemble. What is his movie? What is his
Black Adam, which got canceled?
That's the problem. Because Black Adam was literally.
Well, but now he can return to Hobbs and Shaw, which means he can inadvertently return to the Fast Furious, which we started talking about that movie 4 hours ago.
Vin doesn't like him. Vin doesn't like him because Vin. The whole thing, everybody who's ever spoken to Vin.
But here's the thing, Fast 5 is the best movie in the Fast Furious franchise because it has them at odds with each other. So what we need to do is just have...
It's like wrestling!
What we need to do is have The Rock return to being a villain in the franchise and not part of the team. We need to return to have them being at odds on camera and not pretending to be nice on camera.
But having him being a villain means he has to lose, and everybody knows.
Oh, there's something contractually where they're not.
He cannot not only lose, he is not allowed to have more punches than the other people. Okay, which is why he has issues. Because absolutely, Vin Diesel is from the trades. Because I don't know the man. Supposedly, Vin.
Words on the street.
Vin, his franchise is Fast.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious doesn't make the money that you think it does because it's not up there making 1.5, 1.2, 1.3. It's making 700. It's making 800. It's making 900.
Well, because when you count for how the last Fast Furious movie, Fast X, that came out in May 2023, so several months before we started doing it.
Wait, that was the 10th Fast and the Furious,
That was the 10th Fast and Furious, not including Hobbs and Shaw. So that's 10th minus like the spin-off, which is Hobbs and Shaw, but that is canonically.
I just make a joke real quick? I'm so disappointed in the Fast and Furious franchise for not having the tagline "Fasten your seatbelts" for the 10th.
I think you've made this off mic before.
Oh, definitely.
He has, because I've heard it.
I'm putting it on mic.
Can I say that's all he does?
You're like, I need to record it so the people know that it's my joke.
This is my joke.
No, it's a perfect joke.
It is a great joke, and sorry. Continue.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to make sure.
Should I pitch my whole spin-off franchise?
Hold on.
So my spin-off franchise is that. So this is even building off. Ready? This is going to be real inside baseball. This is building off another podcast that has also. So I have 2 movie podcasts that we talked about off mic before we started recording this that I really enjoy, which are Blank Check, which I'm a recent fan of, and How Did This Get Made, which I'm a long-time fan of, and How Did This Get Made, which is Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas, and June Diane Raphael. They are famously fans of the Fast and Furious franchise. They have covered, I think, every single movie at this point. They started with Fast 5, I believe, or Fast 6, and then they've sort of gone through them as they come out, but now they've gone back to cover some of the older ones, including the original. And they have pitched, I believe it was Jason Mantzoukas specifically pitched, the Shaws of London should be the spinoff because we've met 4 members of the Shaw family. We met Jason Statham, who's Deckard Shaw. We met Luke Evans, who is, Owen Shaw, maybe?
Luke Evans, is that Chris Evans' brother?
No, Luke Evans plays Gaston in the Disney Beauty and the Beast remake. He is a tall, handsome British man.
Gaston.
We've met Vanessa Kirby, who plays Hallie or Haiti Shaw, like their sister. And then we met Helen Mirren, who plays their mother Shaw.
They're
obviously.
Amazing.
What would I know them from?
Helen Mirren, just like everything ever.
Okay. No, I got you. Helen Mirren, Kendrick Lamar from Big Steppers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
A woman who like ages like fine wine and cheese, like just gets hotter with age.
Yeah, she's. I'm be honest.
British.
I'm be honest. Hot women. Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren, A+ all the way.
Also, the British usually like, but
Helen
Mirren.
Historically, Matt, right now, let's not. I don't want to do a whole. Let's not start a world war through this podcast.
I don't think the British
but
the British don't have another world war.
On How Did This Get Made? They pitched that the next spin-off, instead of being Hobbs and Shaw 2 or whatever it's going to be, should just be the Shaws of London, because we've already met 4 members of that family. And we've already had, in Hobbs and Shaw, they had a British villain in Idris Elba. What I pitched earlier off mic was that Michael Caine should be introduced the dad, and then they should have a turf war with
a little Peaky Blinders-esque.
A little Peaky Blinders-esque moment with their Welsh neighbors, Anthony Hopkins as the dad, and then Christian Bale as the son, because they're both Welsh.
Ooh.
Yes, you can take your phone back.
No,
but I was about to talk about the other.
I was keeping it open.
At some moment, we're going to go back to Disney
It's
remakes.
open.
But that is my Hobbs and Shaw, like across the pond spin-off moment.
The expanding the cinematic universe.
Please give me $100 million right now.
We will get this
to expand
done.
the Fast and Furious franchise.
So just need enough money
continent-wise.
to buy a souped-up Toyota Supra, and then we can make the Shaws of London.
I just need to know, is one of the Shaws black or is the villain black?
So it's at this point we only have Idris Elba.
So he's going to come back?
Yeah, we'll find a way to work him in some. I mean,
feel like we should find a way to get John. What is it? Oh,
John Louisiana?
no. Well, that'd be
the most Puerto Rican of New York man. But didn't he lie about being Puerto Rican?
I think he's like, I don't even think he's Puerto Rican. Is he like Italian or some shit?
he's literally not even Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
I think he
he's not
lied
Puerto-
about being Puerto Rican.
I thought he was a Paleolithic ground sloth.
Who are you gonna say, John something?
John Boyega or
John Boyega. Yeah, I
that
can
would
see
be
that.
fun.
Wow.
Hell yeah!
Great
Could
in
he
that.
be the son of Idris Elba's character?
Yes.
Oh,
But
fuck
like,
yeah.
But
Hell
like,
yeah.
be
No,
part
no,
of
he's a
like-
clone.
Oh,
He's a younger,
he's a-
like
Yeah,
aged,
yeah.
regressed clone of
Yeah,
Idris
yeah,
Elba's
yeah.
character.
I love it.
So
He's
it's
like,
the
you
same.
killed me. He's like, I never met you before. I never met you
No,
before.
he's doing that crazy. Do you guys read about that billionaire that is like trying to regress his own age by like injecting himself with his son's blood?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
yeah.
spends $2 million a year on anti-aging technology. It's like that kind of character where Idris Elba has like overdone it.
I mean, if you had the money, wouldn't you?
Oh, of course.
I'm just saying.
I mean, not now, but when I get older,
Some people
'cause I
got
don't
just
want to
too
be
much money.
I don't want to be like at this point. How far back are you saying it can go? Because I don't want to be like 12 again.
You can
But,
regress
like,
to whatever age you want.
Well, I did have someone. I was talking to someone today about Sex and the City, and they were saying like their immediate reaction was, "I didn't think you were old enough to watch the original Sex and the City."
Oh.
And I said, "No, I wasn't. I would hide behind my mother's couch." While she and my aunt, her sister, were watching episodes, and for the first like minute to 2 minutes of each episode, and then they would realize I was there because I was not good at hiding, and they would kick me out and send me back to bed.
That's how I saw Real Sex on HBO. for the
Oh,
first time.
absolutely. That's
That's
how
how-
that's how anyone saw their first like mildly, the original L
Erotic.
word.
Yeah.
Right. The
That's
original.
how I watched Queer as Folk.
Exactly.
That's how I sneakily snuck in and watched Queer as
Absolutely.
Folk
That's
in the
how
middle of the
anyone
night.
saw any sort of queer content on HBO, was hiding behind the couch while somebody else in your household was watching it until they realized that you were there, and then you got sent back upstairs.
Nothing. I was just getting water.
But I would wait until I was old enough to be. So apparently I am looking young enough for people to still be like, you were watching Sex and the City while it was originally airing? Were
But
you
there's a
even
remake.
born then?
I think if I could use age regression, I would want to look like 45, but with the knees of a 12-year-old.
You want the joints of...
I just want the joints and the cartilage of youth.
What about the liver? After this podcast?
I'm good now. I'll stop right here. I'm good.
I can keep this liver. Like the one I got now, it's kind of like a good baseball mitt, where it's like it's been beaten in enough to where it just works.
It works so good.
It works the way
It's like Doc Martens.
It's exactly. You got to kind
Yeah.
of wear it in.
Yeah, you gotta
Like
wear
you
it
drink
a
and you
couple
just
times.
feel it happen. It's like, ooh.
You're like, all right,
Yeah.
okay. And it's
But
got
not enough to where you're like developing calluses or like you're touching the New York City sidewalk.
Yeah, like the rubber hasn't come off of it yet. It's just
It's real comfortable.
It's just comfortable.
Can we in a real pivot moment, can we go all the way back to
I'm here. It's still here.
So we talked about Disney adaptation remakes that have been announced that have like a director and a screener announced and that are, either in production or, even though there's a writer SAG-AFTRA strike, are hypothetically going to go into production.
quote unquote.
Yeah, that have been fully, funded, cast, whatever. Now we're going to talk about the ones that have been like announced or have had someone hypothetically attached.
I got opinions
but
about all of them.
But what Disney movie do you like? Without looking at the list, what would you want to see?
I never got to say mine.
Which one would I want to see?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think the thing that all of them are screwing up is the length of time. I think no movie needs to be over 2 hours. I think most movies don't need to be over an hour and 40 minutes.
But podcasts need to be 3 hours.
Excuse me?
Absolutely.
What?
Well,
You're saying
what?
what?
I thought about this earlier today. I don't think any podcast talking about a individual movie, like if you're just focusing on, we're recapping, you know, Lilo and Stitch. I don't know. I literally just picked one that was on the list of potential Disney remakes.
That'd be a good one.
I don't think any of them need to be longer than the length of its movie. So if you're recapping Oppenheimer, the podcast will be 3 hours. But if you're recapping a Lilo and Stitch or something that's like 8, like the original,
Keep it at 90 minutes.
The
There's a
original,
difference.
as someone who taught summer school all summer and showed a lot of clips of TV shows or full blown movies in the last week, like if you're talking about the Jungle Book. The original Jungle Book is like 80 minutes, maybe 85 minutes. You don't need to turn into a 2-hour remake. Like, keep it the same length or close to the same length. Extend it by 10 to 15 minutes. Don't, like, nearly double the length of your own movie.
The Disney remakes, though,
Yes.
I think Jungle Book is one of my favorites, and I think it's just because of Bill Murray playing Baloo the bear.
You're wrong.
Well, sure. And then you have Benedict Cumberbatch playing...
Oh, he was
Shaka Khan? No,
Shere Khan.
Shah Khan. I'm on.
Shere Khan. Shaka Khan is the artist.
Shaka Khan.
Okay, but Shaka Khan should have played Shere Khan.
Shaka Khan. Yeah,
You know what?
It
I'll
would
say
have been
this.
funnier if Shaka Khan played Shere Khan.
All movies,
would be
but these
great.
movies, I agree, because I think people don't remember they were much shorter than
They're
you think.
incredibly short. Most of them are not over 90 minutes. In fact, a lot of them come in sub 90 minutes.
And they fill them up.
And they
I
got
think
a
it's
lot
because they're
of
for
musical
children.
numbers.
And you hit all the points.
Yep.
They have like 3 musical numbers apiece. They all are like 80 minutes. They hit all the points you need to hit. They don't need to be longer than that. They don't need to be full-blown musicals. They don't need to be 2 hours.
But the remakes have to be longer
the
because
remakes all have to be 2.5 goddamn
they have to be
hours.
because they cover up the fact that they are not original pieces of work.
I know.
They're
but
taking
I
the
hate
old
it.
work, doing it again, and adding nothing.
It's a
so
parody.
that-
But
It's just
Chandler,
not funny.
what was your question of what's the one that I would like to see the most?
Yeah. Like, of Disney movies, which... Because I got one in mind.
I got
Well,
one.
what's yours?
I would love to see Hercules done as a full musical.
So here's the thing. Hercules is on this list. And do you want to know the announced or presumed director and producer of it?
Hit me with the presumed.
The
I don't want to know the announced.
Well, the presumed
Whatever.
/ announced director of a Hercules remake is Guy Ritchie.
Ooh.
And in the collection of announced producers are the Russo brothers.
and I really thought this was gonna happen, and I
And
still think it is.
One of the only announced screenwriter of it.
We're gonna go in. We're
just
save
gonna go
the
for
souls.
it.
We're gonna fight the boars, and then we're gonna get the jewels. All right, and that's the heist.
The only announced screenwriter of it is the same guy who wrote. He wrote the Expendables with Sylvester Stallone.
Love it.
He did an uncredited rewrite of Ant-Man.
This feels aggressively straight, and I feel like that might be.
He
probably,
co-wrote Wonder Woman 1984 with Patty Jenkins. And then he co-wrote Zombieland Double Tap, not the original Zombieland, but the rewrite.
Ooh.
He co-wrote the Shang-Chi, but with let's see.
Who'd he co-write with?
That's what I'm looking
Okay.
at. What else did this person do?
I just think I love the muses in
I love the
Hercules.
muses.
Love the muses.
He was co-credited as writing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. And he's currently attached to, or has been announced as doing, the screenplay by or co-writing by the Hercules remake and a Masters of the Universe remake.
Ooh.
So interesting.
Masters of the Universe. They'll save every one of us.
That one feels like one that I'm actually fine with.
And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because they did the Netflix show. It
I
did very
know.
well.
Yeah.
Even
Wait,
So-
is Masters of the Universe? That is He-Man. Right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And Kevin Smith, he's like the showrunner and like the head writer.
I love Kevin
Oh, is
Smith.
he?
That sounds
Me too,
great.
yeah.
So here's the thing though, because my favorite Disney movie growing up was Beauty and the Beast. I was Belle 3 different times for Halloween, and they already did a Beauty and the Beast remake, and it was not very good.
No, that's like the worst of all of them. I actually believe that may be the worst.
I know, and that's the problem.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Because, and I like what Jon Favreau said about the Lion King remake, which that he said it was almost more for like the photorealism of it. Like it was almost more for like historical preservation of like, so that these animals that maybe one day will go extinct because of climate change can be committed on camera as like the realist that they're going to.
That's a hot take, but I think it's only hot because of climate change.
It's actually interesting because the reason why I give the Lion King so much slack is because Jon Favreau's whole conversations about that movie kind of like made me feel less bad about the movie.
I like him a lot as a director, and honestly as an actor, he is good as Monica's boyfriend on Friends.
Yes! Oh my God!
Let's do it.
Oh
Let's talk about him as like a multi-millionaire on Friends who dates Monica.
Who also wants to like fight in like early proto UFC,
right?
Like, so that's the thing. I think Elon Musk watched those episodes and got the wrong idea.
Like, wait, that's me though.
He literally gets. I love that shit because he gets beat up so badly.
Yes. Oh, he absolutely gets destroyed. And he's like, I have to do it. It's my dream. And Monica has a good sense to be like, I'm out. Bye.
Hey,
and Elon, in my mind, Elon Musk watches those episodes and is like, but I'm gonna be better. I can
be better for you. I could be a better Chandler.
Oh, God. It's upsetting.
I kind of want to see a bromance develop between Jon Favreau and Sean Astin.
Ooh, I like Sean Astin. Actually, fun fact, as of the time that we're recording this, so we're recording this on a Friday in August, exactly 1 week from today, The Goonies is being re-released in theaters. I don't know if it's remastered or if it's like an anniversary deal.
Interesting. Okay.
But over Labor Day weekend, they are re-releasing The Goonies in theaters. And I am pro Sean Astin for many of his performances, but I'm particularly excited to see The Goonies on a large format like that. So I do like that idea of Jon Favreau directing a Sean Astin vehicle.
Right? Like I just think that'd be a fun time.
Yeah.
So with the kind of the what is it? Malaise, not malaise. The film of Jon Favreau overlaying this conversation.
Yeah.
Have either of you seen Ahsoka?
I've watched the first episode.
Is that the Disney Star Wars thing?
Here's the thing.
I don't have a Disney Plus subscription, so if either of you want to loan that to me, I will watch it, and then we can like edit in a segment where I've talked about where I've seen it, and we can discuss it.
We could edit in post.
I'll say that.
Or
Andor,
just throw. Isn't that Rosario Dawson?
Yes.
Just dub Rosario Dawson saying something in that show over me not knowing what this show is.
That'd be pretty solid. You just like your mouth's moving and it's just Rosario Dawson dialogue, and it's just like you never go ass to mouth. Well, okay, sometimes it's okay to go ass to mouth. In the heat of the moment, it's okay to go ass to mouth.
Okay, Kevin Smith. Bringing it back around to like Lion King 1.5.
Oh, sure.
Streaming killed.
Wait, is Rosario Dawson in Lion
No.
King?
No. We're just going back to Disney nonsense.
Streaming.
A company that, again, I will remind you, I've worked for in several different capacities at this point, and will maybe be employed again in the future.
And
so
it's not like hate
topic.
for like. It's not about hate. It's just like the entire streaming platform is
Sure.
ruined.
Well,
because
streaming in general has ruined direct to DVD sequels.
Because now the
Who's
sequels.
got a DVD player these days?
Well, sure, but also that's the thing is we're doing a different. I think the thing about those is that when something was released in theaters versus when something was direct to DVD, it had a markedly different amount of legitimacy. And now things that are on streaming are given a similar, if not exactly the same amount of legitimacy as things released in theaters, to the point where Netflix bought. So in New York City, the Paris Theater, which is on like West 56th, 57th Street, was the last single screen theater left in New York City, and it was like about to close. And then what happened is Netflix went and bought it and decided that was going to be, so for things to be Oscar eligible, they have to screen for I think a minimum of 2 weeks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In New York and LA.
Huh.
That was the whole thing, because when The Room came out in 2003, Tommy Wiseau like bought out theaters or bought out screening times, like in at least LA, if not New York and LA, so that the room was hypothetically Oscar eligible, because that's how like delusional he was. But what Netflix did was they went and bought the Paris theater. So now anytime there's like a Netflix movie that they want to be Oscar eligible, they will go and show it at the Paris theater for like a solid 2 weeks, that it counts, because that's like their New York home.
They use that to give their films like a sense of legitimacy.
Yeah.
Which
it's actually also right next to the Waldorf Astoria. Yeah. Which helps.
It's done a lot, I think, because there's like two things have happened. Because Netflix did like all things do, like Uber. 15 years ago, whatever the fuck it came out, it was like cheaper, right? Netflix, the quality of the films has changed. They have their own sense of like, you watch a Netflix movie, you know what a Netflix movie looks like, you know what it sounds like, you know what it looks like. But
I like a Netflix movie. I got beef with a Netflix show because it is designed to just get you to watch the next episode.
But this is where you know a problem. This is the problem with streaming is that Netflix is not really producing these shows. Go to the bathroom.
You're good. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't want you to announce it on mic, but I was like, if y'all are having this conversation, I need a hot sec.
Take a minute.
Don't fall in.
He says it. He said the thing, the don't fall in thing. I kind of am a little upset that the last few times I've had to use the bathroom on the show, or not on the show, the last few times I've had to use the bathroom in your house, you didn't say don't fall in. It kind of makes me feel like you don't really care about my well-being.
Nope, I hope you fall in.
Oh, you bitch.
I would love to see. Okay, I'm about to. The Aristocats.
Ooh, the Aristocats would be a. Wait. Pause.
Tom O'Malley.
We'll come on, but we'll circle back to it. What were you saying about Netflix movies?
So pretty much the problem is that so they look a certain way, they sound a certain way, because they have a way now that they budget their films, use certain production houses, and so what's happened is you end up with films, movies, TV, right? That's not quite direct to DVD quality. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars for effectively what is direct to TV. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars producing direct to DVD content, right?
Not even direct to DVD, direct to TV.
Direct to your computer, right? For an amount that you don't know how many people watch it. You don't know how much it makes. The people participating don't know, right? So they do that. And then, so every movie that comes out has to be a $1 billion movie, because all the movies that cost $100 million, or like slightly below, are on like Netflix and Disney Plus. So all the movies that cost you $250 million have to be in theaters.
They got to go to at least a theater.
So all these movies that have to make money, absolutely have to be in a theater, make $1 billion.
And so, as Netflix, how do you unfuck
you
yourself?
ruin it? You can't. I think that so Netflix cannot unfuck themselves.
Ooh, rip.
They can't unfuck themselves because hi.
Hello. I'm back.
Hey everyone, welcome to Was That and Good?
Try to close the curtain on the it's not working because it probably came off the wall.
What a brave podcast, because I am to leave in the middle of the episode.
No, I love it. If it's funny.
We're talking about how Netflix kind of fucked themselves over.
They fucked everybody.
By making super big blockbuster movies, but they can't.
Well, here's the thing. The movies that they're making... Like, the movies that they're making, that they're trying to make hits, like a Red Notice or a Extraction or whatever,
Brightburn,
are actually movies that would play really well in a theater. Like, a big blockbuster like that would probably make, like, $50 to $100 million in its opening weekend if they just released it in a theater.
But they also make movies that cost $150 million that suck like Bright,
right?
That would not play well in a theater.
I had such high hopes for Bright. Yeah, it was such a cool concept, but I fucking hate the way.
But Netflix is weird, and I mean, it's because they're a streaming company. But Netflix's insistence on being like, you can only watch it on Netflix, and they're not a streaming platform that has any form of advertising, is like, there's no conceivable way you're making money off of this. There's absolutely no way.
Their only form of marketing is to send me unsolicited emails about like, hey, we just added something.
And now we're getting
like it.
Well, I was just talking to a friend earlier today who was like, oh, they had bought a movie on, I don't know if they bought it on iTunes or if they bought it on some, one particular, like maybe YouTube Plus or whatever. Like they bought a particular movie somewhere online so that they could always stream it because it's a movie that they really love. And then they were like, oh, this movie just got added to Netflix. And I was given shit by this family member about buying said movie because they're like, why do you need to buy it? It's probably streaming somewhere. But Netflix is so flaky with their own.
Yeah. Like sometimes they'll just
what's the thing I'm thinking of? Their own
product. I don't know.
They get high off their
own
supply?
catalog.
Yes.
They're so flaky with their own catalog that there's no guarantee just because it's on Netflix now that it's going to be in 3 months and 6 months and a year. So like, yes, buy it so that you always can watch it, whether or not Netflix decides it's in vogue or not.
And we're seeing that a lot too with Max now that it merged with Discovery, and so a lot of things that used to be.
Listen, I was just striking today in front of the Warner Brothers Discovery office, which is the place that I mainly go because it's the one that's lowest in Manhattan, so it's the easiest as someone who lives in Brooklyn for me to get to, but also because David Zaslav can suck a dick.
And that's where we go because David Zaslav. Now here we go. Netflix and these streaming platforms have created a whole environment in which they've commoditized, right?
Like is that these bottle films, empty, by the way? Have we?
It is indeed.
It is indeed.
Cool.
Yeah. They've completely commoditized these films. They've turned these films into disposable things, right? And because of that, because the model is unsustainable, they cannot. See, here's the thing. Is that a lot of times with like big movies, blockbusters in the theater, right? They can afford to pay everybody more. The streamers really can't because you cannot make money when you make $100 movies.
Well, when you don't have advertising and you don't have
100%,
like streaming, like or theater, like profits, like when you're negating both those things. How are you making money? There's no conceivable way.
Because you're absolutely not. And
or is it because you're not spending
because people
money?
are either not buying tickets or not watching ads. So there's no way that film is profitable. And so, of course, you're going to be losing money on it. And it's very frustrating when they're like, well, this movie was viewed by 50 million people, but the 2 writers who wrote it are shitty for asking for like a living wage.
Yeah.
We're only talking about Netflix.
Yeah.
So you have to look at every platform, right? Because Netflix, they do make money, right? But you have Paramount. They make. I
thought they were losing for multiple quarters in a row.
No, they're spending a lot, but they are making.
From what, new subscriptions?
No, who's losing is Peacock. Who's losing is Paramount Plus.
Well, but here's the thing.
Who's losing is Paramount Plus. Who's losing is not even movie platforms. You got to think about the whole thing because this is continuous.
But Hulu's doing pretty well, though, right?
No, it's not because Hulu, which is partially owned by CBS and Disney.
Well, hold on. Here's the thing. It is the way in which they are losing is...
They just don't know how to monetize their product in the most efficient
way.
Yeah,
essentially that like Paramount. So think about, so I used to work for Viacom, and when I worked for Viacom, I worked for the particular brands MTV and VH1. Okay, but Viacom is this huge brand that also owned like Comedy Central and BET, and
I think they also do Nickelodeon.
Yes, they also own Nickelodeon.
I've applied to there.
There you go. They own a couple of pretty prominent brands, and I was there as talks were emerging that they were maybe going to merge with CBS, but it didn't happen until several years after I left. And then obviously it merged with CBS. And then it became this brand called like Paramount Plus. But if you think about the Paramount brand, they must own this huge back catalog of absolutely legendary, movies and TV shows. And I don't find fault with like the people who work there. I find fault with the leadership for not sort of saying, wow, we have this amazing catalog. Let us find a way to already use it instead of, oh, let's make all this. What they've done now is, oh, let's make all this new product and screw over the people who are making it for us, instead of saying, I mean, all these, okay, so I have been on strike for the last 4 months in solidarity with the WGA and now with SAG-AFTRA, even though I'm not a member of either of those unions, I am essentially in solidarity.
Strike for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Yeah, that's one of Chandler's excellent jokes. But I have worked in film and TV for my entire professional career, my adult career, in college, and then when I was in high school, I worked in TV as well. But I have essentially, you can't blame the workers for working for these brands, but what you can do is blame the leadership for saying you don't realize the stuff that you already have or the stuff that you're making is going to be valuable, and you're not paying your workers X amount.
It always comes down to just faulty leadership, not really knowing
absolutely.
how, or not wanting to, I guess, fully utilize all of their resources. Sometimes there's just the constant rat race to keep making more.
Yes.
To just keep people engaged.
Yeah, and I think that's I saw something that was actually more talking about stand-up comedy, but it probably is in conjecture to movies and TV as well, that somebody was saying, like, a great stand-up comedian only needs like 3 specials, like stand-up specials, in their lifetime. You don't need to be re-releasing one every single year or every 2 years. And I think what we've done now as a culture is just overly been like more content.
You just have to keep creating content.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you feel this now that this kind of seems like a fun transition into just talking about our comedy.
Sure.
But it seems like just because we're in such a tight-knit stand-up community that you have to keep coming up with new stuff, and so you don't really have the time to really hone some material that you have faith in, but you're just like, I gotta just keep making something new.
One of our comedy friends talked about, and I'm trying to remember which professional comedian they talked about, but they talked about somebody, at the A-list, kind of very high level. And they said that person, before doing a recorded special, had probably done those jokes for their special about 200 plus times. And it was like, oh yeah, I know, and this person and I were talking about that we feel the same way of like, oh yeah, when I do the same joke 10 or 15 times, I feel like it's tired and I move on. But these people do their jokes so many times.
You just have to keep repeating.
You have to keep repeating it, and that's why it's so good and so tight, is that they've practiced it so many times.
And we've spoken about this a bunch,
which
is one of the reasons why stand-up just doesn't appeal to me, which is you kind of, when you're writing jokes, I like to write. That's what I do. I've written for magazines. Spend a lot of time writing. That's all I do.
Well, my main thing, I would say my main thing is not a stand-up. It's being a humor writer for the internet. And so I can say, and when I talk to other humor writers about this, we talk about that we write so many drafts of the things that do get published, and then even more than that, we write so many things that just never get published. Like 100%. I write so many things that I submit that don't make it anywhere. I write so many things that by the time I'm ready to submit it, someone has published a very similar thing, or the timeliness of it is passed, and then it just kind of dies in my drafts folder. And part of so much of being a writer, and I talk about this on my own podcast, the Greener Pastures podcast, where I just talk with other humor writers and editors who do the same format as me, that so much of writing is like what you publish is probably like 10% of what you write. So much of writing is such a fraction of the actual work that goes into it. Whether it's, I am someone particularly who loves to brainstorm ideas that I then never follow through with. Like, I love to make jokes that then someone's like, oh, you should write that into a piece. I'm like, yeah, great. And then I never end up writing it. Or I write 200, 300 draft, words of a draft. And then I'm like, oh, this will turn into something. And then I never follow through in it, or I get comments on it and I never add those, I never add that feedback in. And so it never gets sent. Or I send it to a couple places and either it's timely or it's just on a thing that I'm very interested in that moment. And if no one takes it within a certain time, either it loses its relevance because it's no longer timely, or I just lose interest because it's, a niche focus I've had at the moment.
You lose your hyperfixation on it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I sort of move on. So there's many, I have this Google sheet where I track It's a little unupdated now because I've just slowed down in how much I'm, submitting and publishing in that particular format. But I have a Google sheet where I track I have a long list of like the title of the piece, and then it's like the publication I'm submitted to, what status it's in. So if I've submitted to multiple places at the same time, or if I submitted to one place and got rejected, and then I just, next row is the next place I'm submitting it and what its status is and whatever. And then I'll put, if I got any comments on, then I'll put its sort of current, like, if it's being considered, if it's accepted, if it's rejected, if it's been asked for a rewrite, whatever.
That's really cool. Like, you just keep it. That's a great way to stay organized.
And so then I have, and it has multiple pages. So that's sort of like current pieces. And then I have one that's like stats. And it's like how many times from a particular publication that I've been accepted or rejected, or if I've withdrawn a piece or something like that. And then I have another page that's just called Piece Graveyard.
Oh,
and
I got one of those too.
Yeah, and that's when either a piece has been super timely and it didn't get anywhere, and so I just, retired it, or if it's just an evergreen piece, but I've submitted it, enough times that I feel like, okay, I'm over it, or, it's not gonna get
the traction that you
it's not gonna be published at a level that I feel proud of, and so I can just move on from it. And that's the thing that I like to ask other writers on my podcast, because I realized very late in the game, like 2 years into doing this like online satire humor thing, that I had a different threshold than other people. Like I realized in talking with my either co-editors on Greener Pastures, which is my humor website, or people that I've co-authored piece with, or just other people that publish in the same sphere that I do, that everyone has a different threshold. Like I remember asking, one of my essentially colleagues in this field what their threshold was, and they said, oh yeah, if it doesn't get into McSweeney's, which is a big humor publication, I sort of won't send it anywhere else. Like if it doesn't get into McSweeney's, I won't bother with it.
Like kind of
McSweeney's has what I've done in research and been told on other sort of websites where people track humor acceptances and rejections, I believe it has a 1% acceptance rate, which is, I just remember because when I got my first acceptance there, I was texting my writing friends and I was like, oh my God, I finally got to McSweeney's. And they were like, it is a harder acceptance rate than like the Naval Academy.
Oh my God.
Like it is phenomenally hard to get into. Like they get hundreds and hundreds of submissions a week and they publish like 10 pieces a week. So it is incredibly challenging to get into. Now my white whale is obviously Shouts and Murmurs in the New Yorker, which is even harder to get into. I'm sure they get thousands of submissions a week. And they publish like maybe 10, I think they publish 10 if they're lucky, if they're having like a really prolific week. But so I remember talking to one person that was like, oh, I only McSweeney's are bust. You know what I mean? That's their whole thing. And then one of my other humor writing friends was like, I will keep submitting the same piece until it gets accepted. So if that takes 5, if that takes 10, approaches. If that takes 15, like I will just keep going at it. Right, those are two radically different. I fall somewhere in the middle where I sort of have a list of places that I like and respect and that I feel are, varying levels of competitive. And if it doesn't reach sort of a certain level, there's a place where I'll say, okay, I'm retiring it. And so that is another sheet in my massive Google Excel spread of tracking my humor writing career, where it's called the Piece Graveyard, and I'll send it to that sort of slot and say, okay, this piece goes in the Piece Graveyard now because it's been exhausted. Yeah, exactly. I've extended the idea as much as I can, or I've extended that particular take on the idea as much as I can. Right. Not to say that if I didn't return to it later, because now I've been doing this for... You could dig it up. Yeah, actually for Greener Pastures in this last week, I believe our technical anniversary is maybe August 15th or 16th. I want to say it's the 16th, but I feel so bad. Thank you. But we've just hit our 3-year anniversary. We just did a 3-year anniversary post and podcast recording and et cetera. And so I'm realizing now I could probably go back in my Piece Graveyard and at least look at the theme or the concept of some of those early pieces that I did and have a new take on them or have a new spin or rewrite on them, but also maybe some of them just aren't interesting to me anymore. And I like that aspect of live comedy, and I like that aspect of sort of live publishing on the internet versus maybe traditional publishing of like you can just kind of constantly be putting out it's easier to sort of constantly be reinventing yourself now where you're putting out new things. And I really like that about doing stand-up and live comedies, that I can try a joke and it doesn't work, and I never have to do it again.
It's done.
Or I can constantly be working on the same joke but doing different tags on it, versus when you write something and you publish it, whether or not it's for the internet or it's in print, like, it is published that way. That is technically the most done version of it you can.
Wait, if you do something and it's not good, you don't just like feel bad about it and keep, and then you just like, don't always
of course
stop.
I do.
You don't just always stop the first time it doesn't work and then never do it again every single time it doesn't work the first time.
I feel like there's a couple things.
You mean like 178 episodes of some things?
Of a TV show or of this podcast or what?
Of a podcast.
Sometimes.
I love this podcast.
Binge drinking and hoping that some people, are
trying to unlock Jesus' phone by shoving it at his face.
It's got the facial recognition, hopefully.
Because I still really wanted to talk about this.
No, I'm
Disney
ready for
remakes.
it. No, I'm ready for it.
So these are the Disney remakes that have been like proposed, and most of them have directors and or screenwriters attached, but don't have release dates attached. So I assume that they are not in any version of filming or have not had a filming date set, or maybe even have been cast in any conceivable way, whatever. And I just think I should list off some of these, and you just sort of give me your one sentence initial, like, fiery
Let's
take.
go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's just do some. Let's do like a lightning round version. Lilo and Stitch.
Yes.
I would also go thumbs down. It's perfect. Don't touch it.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know. I kind of like to see a hyper-realistic Stitch.
The person who is announced to direct it is the same director who did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Okay.
So Jenny Slate's ex-husband.
Okay. Maybe.
You're more on board with it?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
I think it'd be very hard.
I went from this to this.
Okay.
Okay, interesting.
I just think the 3D renderings of the aliens in that would be cool.
Hercules, directed by Guy Ritchie, produced by the Russo brothers.
I'm gonna say yes.
I don't need to see it.
I'll go middle.
I want it to be musical. I need
I'm
music.
interested. I need musical because it's already humans. I think that's my thing, because it's already a human story and not like a full animal-esque remake.
Oh, wait. Here's my stipulation, though.
Okay.
Keep Danny DeVito as
in person
as Phil.
If Danny DeVito's Phil?
If Danny DeVito is Phil.
If Danny DeVito's
100%
Phil.
yes.
As long as Danny DeVito's on board, I'm on board.
Which, I mean, the character, it's not that far. Like,
sure.
I don't know. You just give him some furry leggings, and he's good.
So they've said a Bambi, directed by Sarah Polley, who did Women Talking.
Not happening.
Nope.
That's
gonna be a big no from me.
I have literally heard that. I've heard this not happening, mainly because nobody wants to see Bambi's motherfucking die.
Listen, they did Dumbo, and there's a reason no one went to see it, because it's one of the saddest goddamn Disney movies.
That was one of my favorite
And I feel
Disney
the same
movies
way
as a
about
kid,
Bambi, is that we don't need to see the sad ones, we need to see the fun ones. Like, if you're gonna do a remake, do a Fantasia, do a...
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Do a... What's the one where they go exploring, and it's not... What's one with the...
Chip and Dale... Rescuers?
No, the guy with the glasses who's really cute.
Oh, Atlantis.
It's
no,
like that?
It's not that.
Treasure or something?
No, Treasure Island. Treasure Island.
Planet?
Treasure Planet.
That one.
Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet.
Which is based off of Treasure Island.
Yeah. Or
that would be a fun... But that...
And it fucking bombed.
But Atlantis also, like something like that, where it's kind of cute and like a little bit alt. Even honestly, Fantasia 2000...
I think if they made Atlantis, but also like really leaned into
There's
just
a reason no one went to see the Pinocchio one.
They made a Pinocchio one?
There are two Pinocchio ones last year.
Guillermo del Toro.
And here's the thing, if you're going to go watch one, go to the Guillermo one.
Yeah, it's so good.
Don't bother with the other one. Go to the Guillermo one where Pinocchio like fights fascism. Don't go to the other one.
Okay, that sounds
The crying scene. I think, and ready, I want to poll both before we get further in this list. Actually, let's finish this list because it's going to bother me if we don't. And then I have another question for both of you. So, we got Bambi by Sarah Polley. We all said no. The Sword and the Stone. I just think unnecessary.
Yeah. I think it might happen still.
And then the next one is Robin Hood. I think we've had enough Robin Hood remakes. We're good. And then we have Ready? Here's the one where I'm like, if we're gonna do a not human one, I'm endorsing it.
Wait, but if they're gonna do Robin Hood, keep it furry. Just saying. If Disney's gonna do it,
just say that I think the next one you're gonna be more excited about.
Oh God.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So it's the Aristocrats.
Okay.
Directed by. Can I say something? Directed by Questlove.
Yes.
Tom O'Malley, the alley cat. Can I just say that
Big thumbs up.
Big thumbs
despite,
up.
Okay, to be clear, yes, there's a huge amount of racism in that fucking movie.
Is there?
Okay. I don't want to imitate the cat putting an Asian accent with the big two teeth.
Yeah, that's not
They
great.
do a whole like Siamese cat.
Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of stuff.
thing.
But here's the thing. That's my fuck. That movie's old as fuck.
To do the geese, to get the geese in it, that'd be great.
And then the very last one, that's the second last. The last one, which is also listed under scrap projects. So I think that's interesting, as we should talk about, because these are the ones that have been like announced or like thought of, but not necessarily like confirmed. Or they've at least had like a director attached, but it's not necessarily like they're in production and here's the release date. Because then there's also a section on scrap projects that I think we should go back to. So the last one in the like upcoming section is Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is additionally listed under scrap projects because it has been said that Alan Menken, who is, famous Disney composer, writer, has basically done anything you've loved vis-a-vis Disney. He has specifically said both that Pocahontas would not be remade as live-action film in the future. He said this in 2019. Due to, modern sensibilities, would be impossible to remake. He then suggested in 2023 that a planned live-action remake of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, simply titled Hunchback, which was announced back in 2019 and was listed as having Josh Gad as one of the producers, and was based on elements from the Victor Hugo original novel, so not just the Disney animated version, but based on the literal source material, was stalled for similar reasons due to modern sensibilities.
The minute I heard it was announced, I never forgot. I was so excited because that's my movie.
It's one of those ones that, like, as an adult, you're like, God, this is so good. And as a child, you just don't appreciate it.
As a child, I thought that was amazing.
I did not appreciate it as a child.
I did not appreciate it as a child.
I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
God,
first scene, oh my God, he's like fucking chasing her fucking down.
Well, it also has
I didn't know what a church was.
It has a lot of, like, it has a lot of labor rights, like, solidarity. Like, it has a lot of, like, class solidarity, labor rights kind of elements.
It has him singing that she's like the devil.
The songs are amazing. It might musically be one of the best ones.
The weird Christian Catholic thing, I think,
he falls into the fucking flames of hell.
I didn't get it. I just didn't get it.
The flames erupt from the pillars of Notre Dame.
Bro, I didn't know who Jesus was
from the mouths of the gargoyles,
10.
and he falls into his sin. I love
Have either of you been to the actual Notre Dame Paris?
Oh God, no.
I have not.
I have no money.
I have, and I did it right after getting off our red-eye flight. So I'd flown all night and then got to Paris at like 6 a.m. in the morning. And then immediately the person I was with was like, let's go to morning mass at Notre Dame. And fully fell asleep during mass at Notre Dame.
Nice.
Solid.
Isn't morning mass like for sleeping? Isn't that like the whole point?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not if you want to go to heaven.
Yeah, but who wants to do that? There's a bunch of narcs up there.
Not if you want to see the pearly white gates.
Yeah, that's too bright.
This is a tourist attraction anyway. It's just a tourist attraction.
There's a great joke that was like, I've been, like I said, 4 hours ago when we started recording this, that I've been listening to a lot of Blank Check the podcast, and I've been listening to particularly the episodes. So they do mini series within the podcast on specific directors because they kind of do surveys on, individual directors' work and whether or not, the movie with which they're given a blank check, the check cashes or it bounces. And so I've been listening to the miniseries on the movies of Stanley Kubrick, and among those movies is Full Metal Jacket, which is the last movie he directed while he was still alive. And the guest they had was John Gabris, and they're talking about...
Wait, what was the last movie he directed after he died?
Eyes Wide Shut, which he was still directing, or I think he'd already finished, and it was scheduled to come out the same year that he died.
Oh, that's...
Eyes Wide Shut.
I thought it was just being a smartass, but that's very interesting.
No. Yeah, that's a true story. But Full Metal Jacket was the last movie that came out while he was still alive.
Okay.
But there is a joke. Allegedly, Matthew Modine told this joke to Stanley Kubrick while on the set of Full Metal Jacket, and it's a joke that's like Steven Spielberg dies, gets to the pearly gates of heaven, and you know, God greets him there and is like, hey, like, you've made it, good job, like, what can I give you? And he goes, oh, can I meet Stanley Kubrick? I've heard he's already here. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Stanley Kubrick doesn't take meetings.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
then I think it's like, maybe it's actually like Gabriel the Angel, because then the joke goes on, which is that like someone is showing him around heaven. He sees like a guy with like a long hair and camo, and it's like, oh my God, there's Stanley Kubrick. Can I go meet him? It's like, actually, that's God. He just thinks he's Stanley Kubrick. And Stanley Kubrick, who allegedly like doesn't have a sense of humor, laughed, and it's like, oh, look, Stanley Kubrick does have a sense of humor, and that's like the literally one evidence in his entire life that we get.
That's the one time they got him to break.
Matthew Modine telling him that joke.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. You know what is also interesting is that I was looking up, then after listening to that episode, I clicked on Matthew Modine's like Wikipedia page and read about him a little bit just to see like what else. Because I was like, I'm sure he was in And the Band Played On, which is a great like HBO movie about the AIDS crisis. He is obviously in Stranger Things. Like he's, you know, done many, many other things. But I was interested in what else he's been up to. And he, in like 2018, 2019, was very, very close to becoming the SAG-AFTRA president.
Oh, wow.
Like, he lost the election to Fran Drescher like 52-47 or like 52-48. Like, it was very close between him and Fran Drescher won. And obviously, she's been like a very fun and like good centerpiece as to the SAG-AFTRA strike right now. But I can't help but imagine how fun it would be to have Matthew Modine as the SAG-AFTRA president, like during the strike right now.
In the hypothetical universe.
In the hypothetical alt universe where Matthew Modine wins that election and is the SAG-AFTRA president right now, like, there'd be other. It's not saying that one would be better than the other. I just imagine the
I gotta
other.
stick up for Dresch. I gotta stick up for Fran. Only
No.
because.
I mean, I grew up watching The Nanny religiously. It was like between that and Sex and the City, those were my Bibles as how to be an adult woman. Like, that's how I learned how to be the person I am today. But I just like to imagine the alt universe where Matthew Modine won the SAG-AFTRA election and is the SAG president.
All right.
Mad respect to SAG. They're great. They have 160,000 members on strike right now. Love them all. I hope they get their contracts.
Fuck yeah.
Etc. Again, yeah. I'm
going to rewind it. You said, all right, we got through the list of stuff. You wanted to poll the two of us for a question you had. We're going to kind of start wrapping it up now. So.
Oh, you mean 2 hours?
No, because you said you wouldn't listen if it was less than 2 hours.
Yeah,
exactly. And we stretched it.
Technically hit 2 hours on the recording.
Exactly.
But what was the thing I wanted to poll you about?
We were talking about the Disney movies,
Yes.
Live action remakes.
Oh, maybe which ones that you two would want to see?
Okay, so like James,
like your personal, you kind of
Aladdin
said
3. But because here's
Aladdin
the thing.
3. There was a third Aladdin.
This is something I said I wanted to get into scrapped projects.
Yeah, because it's a direct to DVD sequel to Aladdin about Aladdin and the King of Thieves, who's his father, and he gets the fucking Midas. He gets the fucking hand of Midas, and everything he touches is gold, and it's like super trippy and weird and direct to DVD.
Huh.
Well, so in the scrapped projects section, in terms of upcoming Disney remakes and adaptations, a prequel to Aladdin titled Genies, which was obviously just about the genie, was in 2015, has gone nowhere since. In 2016, Disney announced a new feature in development called Rose Red, which was a live adaptation spin-off of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which is told to be from Snow White's sister. Whack. Absolutely not.
The whackety whack.
Yeah, exactly. A live adaptation feature that was just based on Prince Charming of Cinderella and other fairy tales was said to be in development 2017.
DreamWorks style, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But with Steven,
like a little Wreck-It Ralph kind of deal.
Chbosky, who did Perks of Being a Wallflower, he was going to write and direct it. 2017 again, 6 years ago. Whack. 2019, Alan Menken suggested that Pocahontas would not be remade in the future due to modern sensibilities.
I want to see it. Let's go.
Would not be remade. And then he also suggested in 2023, this calendar year, that a planned live-action remake of Hunchback of Notre Dame, which had been announced in 2019, with a screenwriter and a production team, and was going to be based both on the animated feature and the Victor Hugo novel, was being stalled for similar reasons. So those are in the scrapped projects. In other projects, in case you're curious, other projects were that they were going to reacquire the rights to the source material of The Black Cauldron. With the intention to adapt the book.
That's one that would
be
a
whole lot of fun.
That's something
So
that would be
it's
fucking
in
great.
early development, but it has no director, producer, or screenwriter attached. But they just simply reacquired the rights to the source material, essentially. So then it was also announced that they wanted to develop, the writer and director of Tiana wanted to develop a live-action adaptation of The Princess and the Frog. And then it was announced this month, truly, it must have been just a few weeks ago, that a live-action adaptation of Tangled was rumored to be in development with Florence Pugh in consideration for Rapunzel. Also, a Tarzan movie that had been in development, which is just George of the Jungle with Brendan Fraser. And there was one, in fact, when I was discussing this exact plot point a few days ago with my boyfriend, know that there was a adaptation about 10, 15 years ago. I think it was like 2009, 2010 with Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh, it's Skarsgård, not Fassbender.
I did not remember
I get them
at all.
confused.
And I had said, like, wasn't there already a live adaptation? And the person I'm dating said, you're thinking of George of the Jungle with Brendan Fraser. But also there was one
George
and it was
in
very
2010 with Skarsgård. And I said, I didn't remember that one, but also... Sure.
And they brought him back to London, and he the whole.
That means we definitely don't need to remake it for a third or eighth or whatever time. But
we could let that white savior movie kind of just.
But that's one where I'm like, that's what I miss about direct to DVD sequels is that you could just keep making these in perpetuity, and we would essentially the three of us would never need to know about that because it would just go straight to DVD or straight to Disney Plus. And we could pretend it never happened instead of being like, oh, it's going to have a huge opening weekend in August.
You definitely know people.
Only thing in IMAX or in Dolby or whatever.
You definitely know people whose favorite movie is like a random direct-to-DVD sequel of a Disney movie that you maybe have heard of.
Aren't you the one who brought up Lion King 1.5?
That's me. Yeah.
Or like Aladdin 3.
I have a Brother Bear tattoo.
But the difference.
Yeah, it's on my calf right here. Boom.
I think the difference, though, is just
I love deep cut Disney.
Yeah, that stuff right there.
Get a tattoo of like the good dinosaur.
I would.
That stuff connected with you. That stuff was able to connect with you.
That's a modern deep cut.
It also didn't do it. I liked it.
Thought it was. Do you guys remember Dinosaur? The one about like
no, absolutely not.
An iguanodon. It's like. It kind of came out around the time that like Walking with Dinosaurs and just dinosaur CGI stuff was kind of popular. And
you're lying.
An iguanodon hatches.
Excuse me, as someone who's going to see the re-release of Jurassic Park 3D.
As somebody who saw Jurassic Park in the theaters when it came out and Jurassic Park 3D, I'm old.
So
you're lying.
I speak nothing but the truth. It's about a dinosaur that gets adopted by a bunch of like Paleolithic lemurs, and then they go on like a trek. So he's like, "Oh, I'm just the big brother, even though I'm the youngest." And they're like all.
What was the show where they all die at the end because the Ice Age comes?
Oh, that's Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs, the TV show.
Yeah, where they had that anti-weed episode where they were eating the moss and stuff, and they were like getting high.
They should make a movie version of that, but have the same ending where they still die because of climate change.
Wow, that shooting star is getting real close.
See that was real.
And they all freeze to death.
And
it's a brutal ending. It's an absolutely morbid ending for a children.
But it also could be a spinoff of Ice Age.
Okay. Oh.
That's another one where, like, why are we not letting things franchise? There were like 4 or 5 Ice Ages,
and they have Ice Age with the little lemur thing on Netflix.
No, you're thinking of Madagascar, because All Hail King Julian is a triumph.
No, but they have
animation.
had like 4 Ice Ages.
No, they have an Ice Age TV show.
But can we also talk about that? Shrek had like many sequels. And then Puss in Boots had 2, and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, like the
Fantastic.
one that this is a really fun story of good, like, viewing in. I always love when people tell good, like, in theater viewing stories. Like, I always think that's interesting when someone had a really cool or unique, like, in theater viewing experience. I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, like, many months after it released, maybe 6 months after it released. And for whatever reason, the Regal at Essex Crossing, which is like a very downtown Lower Manhattan, like, Regal theater, was showing it on like a random Wednesday for like $5 because it was like an 11:45 a.m. screening. And I was the only person in the theater. And again, seeing it 6 months after it was released. But many critics had put on their, like, end-of-year best movie screenings. And March and February, honestly, are kind of like a dead zone for new movies coming out. So I was like, well, there's nothing else good coming out right now.
You might as well.
I guess I'll go see it. And I got to, in a theater completely by myself in Lower Manhattan, New York City, openly weep to a children's movie.
Yep.
On, like, a Wednesday at noon, basically.
Okay, I'm finally going to watch it.
No, it's fantastic.
I
openly wept to it as well.
Yeah, it's like an animated movie that is also a meditation on aging and death and life and, like, using
and
your
anxiety
life to the best of your ability and, like, making the most of your relationships and on anxiety and belonging and also on, like, oh God.
It's fantastic.
I'm going to watch it tonight, and my opinion about what I think about the movie is going to be right here.
It's going to completely color this whole episode. We could have gone along really well for 2.5 hours, and then you'll watch the movie and you'll disagree and you'll be like, never mind, we're not friends anymore.
No, I'm a big fan of DreamWorks thing. My one gripe with Ice Age was the first Ice Age movie was so good, and it was impactful,
well, that's always
and
the
it was
way.
emotional.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first Lion King is obviously better than Lion King 1.5. Like, the sequels truly can never measure up.
They kept a lot.
Nobody mentioned 2 or 3. I'm just saying.
No, absolutely
wait. We can't not talk about Lion King 2 because they had the musical number, Deception, Disgrace.
Can we? You brought up DreamWorks. Can we talk about Prince of Egypt or what's the?
Can we talk about Prince of Egypt? I don't think he likes that.
No, what's the crazy one that what's the whole lore with Shrek and that they had another one at the same time?
There
was a whole thing with DreamWorks where Shrek was like the punishment of, like, if you did poorly. Sorry, James. Once again, I am just using your phone to Google facts for this.
So with Ice Age, though, the first movie had, like, there was the child that was kidnapped from his like the Cro-Magnon.
So just people. Stealing from the Jungle Book, fine.
Pretty much, but also it was more about, acceptance, belonging, finding your. But then the entire rest of the Ice Age series is like, whoa, the Earth is melting, and then it got real climate changey, which, I mean, that's
no, that's not real.
Yeah, that's fiction.
What, are you running for president of the Republicans?
Exactly.
I was exactly thinking that.
Listen, oh my God, you just watch any, like, snippets of the debate?
What's the name
of
the? I'm sorry,
the whole thing.
I feel so bad. I watched the whole thing, but I cannot remember the name of the millennial dude. The one I can't remember the name. The brown skin one.
Oh, Vivek Ramaswamy.
He literally is such a fucking troll.
Redditor of a Republican
he's
candidate.
such a fucking troll. He's literally, like, quoting Obama on the low just to get you to be like, he's still from Obama. He's fucking trolling, literally copying Obama. Literally debate.
If I be moderate enough,
no. It was what is it again? He's like, what is it? They're just looking at, like, some weird skinny guy up on here on stage, literally word for word, just stealing from Obama. He is such a fucking Redditor, and I fucking love that shit. But also, Ron DeSantis, that fucking guy, loves jumping on grenades because they asked everybody to raise their hand.
Oh,
I love that shit because Ron DeSantis is like, just like jumping on that fucking grenade.
Well, they said raise your hand if you would support Donald Trump as the presidential nominee for the GOP, right? Like, that was the question. And then they all raised their hand like they're not actively interviewing for the fucking job.
I'm talking about
what kind
of the one where they were like, raise your hand if you would pardon him.
Yeah, oh my God.
What kind of fucking cuck?
Didn't they play that clip of that Rich Man and Rich Men song?
No, wait, what?
Yeah, there's like this guy who plays a song about, like, people. whatever.
Try that in a small town.
You know what? No, but you know what? You try that in a small town.
You try that in a small town.
No, you try that in a small town.
I'll try you in a small town.
Can we talk about the Shrek thing for one second?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
From everything that I'm Googling, it's that it was either that you were supposed to be working on this is the way that I remember it, so I'm going to posit the story this way, is that you were supposed to be working on the Prince of Egypt, and that
visually stunning,
visually incredible, but that essentially that DreamWorks was making that at the same time as Shrek, and that getting sent to work on Shrek was a punishment. So like if you weren't doing well on the Prince of Egypt production staff, you got sent to like literally I think it was the basement,
and they're just like, all right, do a bunch of 3D renderings,
and then go work on the other bullshit that we don't want to that we really don't want to put out, but that we're contractually obligated to.
Oh yeah,
and that's something that was like they were making. Now that I'm reading the story, that they were making ants at the same time.
Oh,
and that was maybe another thing of like, oh, if it's not going well, you have to go work on ants.
Also, because Mike Myers took over the voice.
So Mike Myers took over from Chris Farley because Chris Farley had voiced a bunch of it and then unfortunately passed away during production. And so rather than sort of try to mimic him, and
he just took it a whole different direction. Yeah,
he did something absolutely completely different, and so he re-recorded all of it. And
with a Scottish accent.
With a Scottish accent, which Chris Farley had not done. Which now I can't imagine anyone else doing it, but I do desperately want to hear the nearly finished original, Chris Farley version of it, because I'm so curious. It also says, again, this is all according to Wikipedia, so feel free to, consider the legitimacy of it at your own risk. But it says that Nicolas Cage was offered it and turned it down because he did not want to be
But can we live in that reality for a second?
That Nicolas Cage plays Shrek?
That
Nicolas Cage is Shrek and Superman. Let's go.
Donkey, why are you following me?
That's my thing, though, is that Mike Myers does such a good job that I don't want to imagine anyone else in that role, but I do.
What if he's Donkey?
What?
What if Nick Cage is Donkey?
But like Eddie Murphy does such a. That's the thing. The first one is so good. In so many ways, I don't want to imagine anyone else.
Shrek.
Doing
what kind of name is Shrek?
Pancakes.
In the morning, I'm making waffles. That's my only Nick Cage impression. It's just real unhinged.
It's a pretty good one.
Oh, thank you.
Here's my Nick Cage accent.
Yeah.
I'm Nick Cage.
God damn it. Oh, it's a reoccurring trope that just James doesn't do acting. He can't.
Honestly, fair and honest.
It's not here.
What's the Fox tagline?
The which one?
The Fox News tagline.
I don't know it.
It's like truth something.
We watch a lot of Fox, but I just don't.
What does the Fox say?
I'm Googling it now.
I know what the Fox says. And the Fox says that women shouldn't have rights, and neither should trans people.
That is what they propagandize. Kind of piggybacking off the whole Shrek, go to the basement thing. When they were making Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, apparently that whole show, the 3D, the animators for it, just phoned it in the entire time.
Oh, what? The Fox News tagline is fair and balanced. Which are neither words that I used to describe this podcast, for sure. Neither fair nor balanced. Jimmy Neutron, a wonderfully animated program that I spent a lot of my childhood watching.
Oh, I loved it. You go back and watch it, though, like, things clip through all the time. Like,
sure, absolutely.
Animators who have gone on interviews and are like,
Well, here's the thing. I recently, and feel free to, boo me on mic or whatever. I recently, for the very, very first time, on 70 millimeter, watched 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, okay.
And I think we are spending, when you think about something like that, and then something like Shrek, and then something like Jimmy Neutron, I think we are spending too much, like, we're trying to press animation and special effects too much. Because when I think about things like that, and like, we gave them time and breathing room, and look at what a great product they turned out. Obviously, those are wildly different ends of the animation spectrum. But when I think about things like, what inherently just bothers me as both a person who's been in the film and TV industry for over a decade and as someone who is pro-union, is what I hate is when again, I like actors. I'm pro the SAG-AFTRA strike. I'm friends with actors, etc. But when actors will go and do like a Vanity Fair thing, like I think when Thor: Love and Thunder was coming out, and like, you know, two of the actors went on Vanity Fair and did some sort of, you know, analyze a scene, and specifically I think it was Taika Waititi and
I literally see it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Who plays Valkyrie?
Oh,
Tessa,
yeah. I know she's
Tessa Thompson. Taika Waititi and Tessa Thompson did a video for Vanity Fair that was like about for the promotion of Thor: Love and Thunder, and they aggressively made fun of this special effects. And I'm like, those people have been trying to unionize for years because they work a bazillion hours a day for months, if not years at a time. Like, they used to get years at a time to work on one movie, and that's why it looked as good as it did. And now we only give them, like, we'll be like, here, animate a whole movie in 6 weeks and have it be the best special effects that have ever happened. And of course they can't make it happen because they're people,
but also they do make it happen, which is why
it keeps happening.
Which is why it keeps happening.
And it's frustrating to then watch someone who has an Academy Award, like Taika Waititi, go on camera and make fun of their animations work.
It's like that. Those are your people.
Those are your people. They made your movie happen. Why would you go on camera
your
on the
dream?
Record? Yeah, and that's what makes me, you know, like again, I've been aggressively pro-union, pro-worker, pro-labor. You know,
power to the
rights
people,
my whole life.
Yeah,
exactly right. I am the 99%, but like that bothers me so much, and that also makes me be like, no, Marvel, you don't get to put out a movie every 6 months if you're going to talk about your animation or
100%.
Like it's an artificial deadline.
Yeah,
and you're gonna.
Who cares? Like we should go back to the 80s and 90s where we put out movies every 3 to 5 years, but they look amazing. Like
the problem is they make too much money because Into the Spider-Verse is a perfect example. When that movie is absolutely amazing, when it ended, they were already talking about making the next one come out in a year. And I'm gonna tell you something.
Even the animators were like, "That's not happening."
But I'm gonna tell you something. I bet you they would have made it happen because that movie made so much money that they would have made it happen.
And let's go back to the Kubrick days where he was making movies like once a decade. And again, they all looked amazing and they all were amazing. But that's because he got to take.
And that's where you get James Cameron.
That's where you get a James Cameron. That's where you get a Michael Mann. That's where you get a Todd Fields, who he did like, I think he did.
That's where you get Mick
What
G,
is it?
who
In
did
the
Charlie's Angels
bedroom, and then he didn't do anything for 15 years, and then he made Tar all of a sudden, out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go back to that. We're giving people breathing room.
I think the argument with Disney is that they pick different directors. They try, they try to
keep
make
it fresh.
But they pick different directors, and then they say work within this specific frame, or we're going to fire you, like they did with Edgar Wright and Ant-Man. And I want an Edgar Wright Marvel movie so
that
aggressively.
Would be a lot. And I think Paul Rudd would do really well in an Edgar Wright.
Oh my God, absolutely. You kidding? Yeah. So would Michael Pena. So would Corey Stoll. So would probably Michael Douglas.
Throwing this at you, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost in a Marvel movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
100%.
That would be fantastic. Get on it, Hollywood.
They're gonna ruin them by having them make a cameo in the next whatever movie's coming out.
But let them be fun, but let them be every 2 to 3 years. We don't need a follow-up.
Well, next year they're only doing 3, and of the 3,
only
no,
make them only do 1.
No. Here's the thing: of the 3, only 2 are coming out because Thunderbolts is not written or finished, and there's a strike going on right now. So what
are the 2 that are coming out next year?
I don't remember. Wait, I do.
Of course,
I don't remember right now, but it doesn't matter.
If only you had a phone to look things up on.
No, it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter?
Have a phone that I'd cannibalize the entire recording.
We're not even finished with this year.
Bullshit.
We still have the Marvels, and not only do we have the Marvels.
True.
We have the Marvels, and I think also something else.
But that's okay. We don't need to. And this is the thing. As someone who publishes humor on the internet, on websites that publish humor pieces daily and multiple times a day, like now Shouts and Murmurs Shouts and Murmurs of the New Yorker used to just have the printed section, which was a weekly publication. Now they have a daily online version where they publish 2 pieces a day or sometimes just 1. but now they're up to multiple pieces a week. Places like, McSweeney's and Slackjaw and, Belladonna, all these places that I've written for, publish multiple humor pieces a day. It's hard to sort of write things that are original and keep up with the constant
competition
grind
of
online publishing.
Content.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, everything can slow down a little bit. Everyone can publish less. We can make less movies. We can write less things online.
But the competition is not, which is the main issue that I think. But
movies in particular, we don't need.
I think
everything's a blockbuster.
I think big businesses, the AMTP,
everything doesn't need to make $50 million opening weekend. And you know what I think?
They're bad capitalists.
But you know what?
They're bad capitalists because they're not doing capitalism correctly. They're not leading the brands out long enough for you to really enthuse the base.
Yeah, think about this. So this upcoming, I'm gotten so close so many times this recording to just literally saying the date we're filming this on because I keep talking around it. But the next weekend, so not, this Sunday, but the next Sunday is National Cinema Day, which is a day, it's this upcoming Sunday.
It's one of the days.
It's coming up very soon. But it's a day that is everyone can go see most movies at most movie theaters for like $4 a piece, which last year was $3 a piece. They've already increased it with inflation. But there are, when I was looking at new releases, there's one new release that I've been interested in seeing that I have not already seen, that I was like, oh, I'd love to go see that on National Cinema Day. And it has already been pulled from so many theaters that I think there is nothing within like a 15-mile radius where I can go see it.
Is it The Sound of Freedom?
No, God. Yes, absolutely. I'm dying to go see Sound of Freedom. No, it's Last Voyage of the Demeter.
That one does look pretty.
Oh my God.
It looks really good, and I've been interested in seeing. But by the time National Cinema Day rolls around, it was only released like a couple weeks ago. It will be already, because it didn't make like $100 million in its opening weekend, it will already have been pulled from so many theaters that there was nothing within like 20 miles where I can go see it in a reasonable kind of distance to travel for a movie within the New York City metropolitan area. So I'm just not going to get to see it on a big screen versus, and I think that's a problem of, and I think we used to do this better in the 80s and 90s of let movies stay in theaters over a couple weeks or months and sort of let them like grow into sleeper hits.
This is why I hate David Zaslav, because he's pretending to do that by taking things. He's pretending to do that by doing a few different things, switching a few things up, by having new releases have a longer window before they go on streaming. Mm-hmm. But the reality of that is that a lot of these movies they're putting in theaters aren't good. They're a lot of the ones that he's putting, he got rid of things that people wanted to see.
Well, ready, and here's a great example of something that people sort of, I think, didn't anticipate being so good and has now sort of just been given, when given the time and energy, has evolved into like, the classic 80s and 90s example of like, oh, now it's kind of a hit. Past Lives by Celine Song starring Greta Lee I saw it when it opened in New York on like June 3rd. I saw it opening weekend in New York. It opened in New York and LA for several weeks before it opened, nationwide. So it opened, I saw it the first weekend in June. It is now the last weekend in August. It is still screening in New York City. Like, it is 3 full months, and you can still go see it. And it released on streaming VOD earlier this week, but it is still screening in theaters.
Okay, but New York doesn't count because, as everybody knows, that New York and LA.
So it's streaming. So it went nationwide at the end of June, like the weekend before the 4th of July, say. So, but it's still been in theaters for 2 full months. It went streaming just this past week. And I'm sure if you looked really hard outside of New York and LA, if you still found a theater in Missouri or in Alabama or in Wisconsin, wherever.
$10 million. That's a lot of money.
$10 million or
no,
gross
that's
$10
how
million?
much. That's how much it's grossed in the box office.
How much did it cost?
I don't know. I didn't look.
12.
No, I bet you it's like a dollar. I bet you. I'm not even gonna look.
Sure
I bet you it's like
$1
it's like
or
$1 million,
$2 million.
which is that is significant.
So but I'm saying that is like an adult, that is a non-franchisee adult romantic drama.
But A24 is, I think, has gotten very good
It's
at
A24.
pumping out like $1 to $2.5 million movies.
That is a movie that was given more than like 2 weeks to sit in theaters and let it grow and let people be interested in it.
Just
and
let it
now
ride.
It's still, people are still going to see it.
If it doesn't have, a lot of the time you see, if something doesn't have the immediate gratification, the immediate fan following, is why I don't think we have like cult classics.
No,
anymore,
absolutely not.
Things
and I think
aren't allowed to breathe.
Yes, exactly. And I think that was more a thing in the 80s and 90s of even if something lived in theaters, like
they didn't have streaming
all summer.
They didn't have the internet. They didn't have the even before that.
They didn't
buying
know
a
any
DVD
better.
meant you had to go to the store and buy a CD or DVD.
You know what I can think of is the closest to a cult classic, and this actually isn't a movie, but it's a TV show that we've gotten in recent history, is Schitt's Creek. By the time Schitt's Creek, and you've heard Eugene Levy and Dan Levy, more so Dan Levy, talk about this, Schitt's Creek was picked to start streaming on Netflix as its like international distribution in season 4. The first 4 seasons were just on Pop TV, which I think was exclusively a Canadian brand at that point.
Similarly, Letterkenny.
An American brand.
Yeah.
Yes, the same thing. But Schitt's Creek had done 4 seasons
That's
for
wild.
just a Canadian distributor, and then it got put on Netflix, and they said, Dan Levy specifically has said that contributed largely to their own popularity, that then seasons 5 and 6 sort of exploded both in like viewership and in like critical acclaim and nominations because it just reached a much wider
But I blow all the
viewer
raspberries because they said that about Manifest. They do the same thing with Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man and
sure.
Spider-Verse movie.
But Letterkenny, I think you're totally right too. Or like, Sex Education is a Netflix original, right?
I need to watch that one.
Yeah.
It looks cute. I haven't gotten into it.
Netflix has the ability to put certain things that you wouldn't see in front of people.
I feel like, and I really want to ask you two this question, do you think Netflix is, in a sort of long-term strategical sense, moving towards being fully original content and no longer carrying other content from other producer streamers?
Only
really?
Because
I think they are.
Only because one thing that
Chandler?
Netflix is doing is they're absolutely really big on licensing the products of other companies, mainly because that is absolutely the cheapest way of getting content is going places. First, you do this. You make it so your platform, you cannot share your thing. You are stuck in the region that you're in. And then you can license shows from other regions for nothing. And now you have content.
And now you have
You don't have to make the content. Ooh. You don't even have to really produce the content.
You just have to buy it.
You just have to buy the content. And they're very big on that.
I got
a lot of shows, Letterkenny.
Letterkenny's one of them.
I had a question really quick
granted,
before we talk
Hulu,
about
but
Letterkenny. How much editing is involved in this podcast?
Depends.
Is there more booze? Or are we out of booze?
Look
I'm be honest.
Look under the desk.
We definitely need to. Oh, actually, we definitely need to wrap it up.
Can you check?
We're gonna need to wrap it up, but we have some surprise booze.
Ah, we like surprise booze.
Since so here's the thing, right? So this is the longest thing we've ever done, and we're gonna have to wrap it up soon.
Oh, sure.
Because sleep.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna let this drag on till 7 a.m. I'm gonna let this podcast
one thing
go on.
There's
literally
sediment
as long as you kick me out
in
of
my
the house.
cup from
mine too, for sure.
From the cold brew, which is very interesting. But we're gonna.
Sure.
That's interesting because we're gonna have some interesting stuff here. So since you have to be subjected to this, you are our guest. You're gonna be subjected to the way that we do things here.
Oh God.
So this here is from
let me just put
if
it
you
down,
watch
honestly.
the last episode or the
Actually,
episode
how
before
about
last that we did.
Let's see,
All right.
hold
Of this podcast, we had gone to Van Brunt.
on. Okay.
And we were very fortunate to taste, not this. We were very fortunate to taste some things that were a lot like this. This doesn't say whiskey on it because it's not whiskey. This is a spirit distilled from grain,
Okay.
but it's whiskey.
Sure.
It doesn't fit the legal definition of whiskey, and it's made with beer. And they also allowed us to taste two of these from local companies, local Brooklyn beer breweries, right? And this is one of them. This is one of the ones that they have that you could buy, and it's hopped and it's delicious, and you have to suffer. It's whiskey, though. It's not whiskey, but it's whiskey. I mentioned that because you had a whole,
I had a whole thing, and sorry that I sneezed in the middle of that.
How dare you?
I know, how dare I have a bodily function?
How dare you?
Oh, what a nightmare. Oh,
so
God.
if you smell it, it smells like fucking beer.
I mean, it's... Can I say what time it is
Of
that we're
course.
recording this?
How dare you break the third wall?
It is the middle of the night, essentially. I will say that. It is...
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
To circle back to your question, I think
Please
Netflix, I think strategically what they should do is kind of similar to what James was saying, but also the way we see a lot of the way that whiskey is procured and distributed.
Slackjaw.
Oh, yep.
Nope.
Nope.
Hard bass.
Not a fan.
Well, I think just the hour and the... Again, it was my idea. We're fully copping to that, but the...
Water if you need it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, but you see a lot of kind of craft distilleries will buy pre-made bourbon and stuff from a mass
Equating
distributor.
this to Netflix?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Continue.
And so...
This is not a joke. This is very real.
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, knowing Chandler, I know that this is a true analogy. I just want to make sure that I was following the thread of the logic. Great.
So to be bourbon, you got to be aged at least 2 years in specific stuff. And so there's mass distributors who will make legally labeled bourbon. And what like craft distillers will do is they'll go to that mass distributor, find, a couple hundred barrels that they really like. They'll blend it to get a specific brand that they're trying to cultivate, and then they'll distribute that under their own label, and it'll be like, oh, this is da-da-da-da-da bourbon. We made it, but really they didn't make it. They just own it, and they distribute it.
I like the idea of this being like and to pull it very, very full circle, not even for anyone listening, but for the three of us sitting here specifically, to go as full circle as humanly possible back to the Fast and Furious franchise, where they did, when it comes to number 3, so they did The Fast and the Furious, which is number 1. They did Too Fast, Too Furious, which is the second one in Miami, and then they did The Fast and the Furious Presents, Tokyo Drift, which is the third one, which is kind of anthological at that point because it does not include, unless you count the post-credits scene that involves Vin Diesel, it does not include a single character from either of those first 2 movies. Yeah, unless you include those first 2, it has gone full anthology at that point and is, totally random. I like this idea of sort of like presented by the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, where it's like not technically the same product, but we are presenting it as if it is the same product or under the umbrella of the same product.
It's under the brand umbrella, but you kind of outsourced the actual making of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so as you have that outsourced thing.
Right, you've outsourced all of your stars, you outsourced your production,
see that with Netflix?
Your
do you see the Netflix symbol?
Writer.
Yeah. Easy
it just
to
says
get money.
But that doesn't mean anything.
No,
it
absolutely
says
not.
And you're like, oh, they made it?
And there's a point where I've heard different things about people assuming that show X, Y, and Z was a Netflix original when it wasn't, but it's just that they saw it for the first time on Netflix.
I mean, I thought Schitt's Creek was a Netflix original.
No,
I didn't even hear about the
TV
show until season 4.
Boom. Exactly.
Yeah, because Netflix, I think after season 4 bought the international distribution rights, and so they could air it in countries that were not Canada because it is originally a Canadian show, and so they could air it for the first time in the United States, and so people in the United States and other countries saw it for the first time on Netflix, and therefore were,
right. That's how they were introduced.
Right.
But you kind of have to have that backlog of outsourced material that's just, it's only generating revenue to give you the autonomy.
Did it stop recording?
No, no.
Oh, no, we're good.
Oh, we're just checking.
I'm getting ready to hit the end music.
Let's circle back to 5, now almost going on 6 hours ago when we started talking about the Fast
I
and
love how
Furious franchise.
at the beginning you were talking about like not doing like the intro until like you're halfway through.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of continuously stopping, like going to stop the podcast, but not.
Like not stopping it, but I'm just
it's time to wrap it up.
something that happened a long time ago. I'm just cutting through.
The podcast doesn't stop.
The
We just stop
conversation.
recording
It never
at a
stops.
time.
Yeah, we're living. It's like a Truman Show thing of like we're constantly living.
Yes.
The podcast. It's just we technically stop airing it at a certain point because there's a limit on the file size that we can submit to.
Exactly. I think some people call that dedication to your art, and other people call it alcoholism. But
No. For me, it's performance art. I'm like full Andy Kaufman. I'm just living my craft at a certain point. I'm just fully inhabiting the character with which I've developed on here. But yeah, I like the full round circle of 6 hours later that we come to the Fast and Furious franchise of like this is now a presented by.
Exactly.
You
you got the F and F.
Yeah, you got the colon. As soon as you get a colon in there, you know.
I love a title with a colon.
Oh, it's so good, right?
All right, let's any last thoughts, comments, questions?
Oh my God, so many. I feel like we've talked about nothing.
No, we've actually talked about quite a lot.
Oh, we have traversed the universe. Amy, thank you so much for joining us and for this has truly been a marathon of sorts, and
I did aim to be I think longest and most, I don't want to say treacherous because that sounds like you were hiking Everest, but like the most
so many pitfalls,
the most ground you've had to cover, the most sort of the longest and most adventurous episode of this podcast.
That's the competition. I think
the beauty of small talk, though, right, is you can talk about nothing but talk about everything.
Oh, good. So I'm the Seinfeld.
Exactly.
Of this I don't want to be the Seinfeld. Let me be the Elaine at least.
No, if you're Seinfeld, you're George.
No, I want
George.
Again,
I mean, you know why.
I want to be the Elaine.
You're the one with glasses.
I want to be the Elaine. Don't let me be the Seinfeld. I don't date 17-year-olds. I would like to go on the record as saying so. Please let me be the Julia Louis-Dreyfus with the weird dance, the great hair.
I love how you said that.
And
I thought the word dance.
Amy, you got any shows coming up? You got any stuff you want to plug?
I mean, I co-edit and co-run a website called Greener Pastures Magazine on Medium. It's a humor and satire website. Please check it out. Through that, we also have a podcast called the Greener Pastures Podcast where we interview other satire editors and writers. So please go check out the Greener Pastures Podcast on Spotify or generally wherever you get your podcasts. I individually was just on a show and don't have anything booked at the moment, but I'm sure I will in the
Where do you
future.
frequent? Where if I don't know, someone who listens to this podcast who just happens to live in the area and they wanted to check you out?
Oh, I mean, I'm probably at Caveat on the Lower East Side, whether it's hosting my own show or supporting one of my friends' shows.
Hell yeah.
So come find me at Caveat probably, or our Mike Sinker Sing wherever it finds a home.
Wherever it finds a home. Instagram plug?
I'm about to say, do you have any socials?
It's just my name, Amy.Currul. That's me on Instagram and Twitter, as long as you're still on Twitter. I plan to be one of those people on Twitter that is like...
You call it Twitter ads.
Other people have made the joke, but I will just go ahead and repeat their joke of I plan to be one of the Twitter people that as the Titanic is singing, I am the guy playing the violin.
I was there at the beginning. I'll be there at the end.
Yeah, I got a message from Twitter recently that was celebrate your 14th anniversary on Twitter. And I was like, no, but also upsetting that I've been on that website this long. And also if I've been on it so long, there's no way that I'm going to abandon it until it is fully shut. I'm not on X. I literally haven't. I've turned off automatic updates on my phone.
Oh, so
that
is it
it's
still
Twitter. It's not X.
Mine auto updated,
which is great because the person I'm dating is auto update. So theirs says X, and they will send me things, and it says X. And when I go to click on the link, it says, "Would you like to open with Twitter?" And I get to say yes. And then when I send them things, it says from twitter.com.
I'm going to let you know something. The site's not that good. If you send anything, if you
say
in Twitter.
Of course it's not.
I'd be
it's run by a sociopathic toddler. No, of course it's not a well-built website. Are you kidding? It's like if Chucky... Yeah, it's like if Chucky from Rugrats was given like $1 billion. No, of course it's not even like $100 million.
I give Chucky a little bit more credit than that.
Phil then.
All right, yeah.
1 through 5.
The one who eats bugs.
1 through 5.
1 through 5?
Of X or
just pick 1 through 5.
Any
3. No, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? How they tried to do Twitter with like the X in place of the twa, like so it would just be XITTER.
It was empty.
And
there was no sound effect.
It's Tucker. It's Tucker Carlson laughing.
That's so. That is so misogynist. How dare you do that with a woman in the room?
It feels like a hate crime.
Get it out.
Get it out.
Get it out.
Get it out.
Get it out. Get it out.
In a rebellion move, just hit a random button on the soundboard. And it was upsetting. I don't even know what.
Relatable content.
That's a fun one.
That's great. That I want to just be you know what was funny? I was watching something this weekend, and I don't remember what it was, but they had like an actual ringtone, and I was like, that's what makes this thing the most outdated is that the person still has a full-blown ringtone.
They listen to a ringtone rather than just having it on silent.
Yeah.
So it's not just me, right?
Now I want to take relatable content and make it my ringtone.
Like anytime you get a text or something, it's just relatable content.
Well, you know what it should be? It should just be the Jaws theme.
Oh, that'd be great.
Do you have that on dial?
No.
No.
Oh, wow.
I actually don't know what's on here.
What else you got?
Keep doing stuff.
Baby, you have your asshole licked by a fat man in an overcoat?
I hate that. Feels misogynistic as hell.
No, you want misogynistic? I'm gonna be honest. These two were deleted because that's
you want misogynistic.
That's the,
37. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks.
Okay, that's misogynistic.
That is from Clerks, right?
Yes.
That is from Clerks by Kevin Smith.
I think that entire page is
this
from
whole page
Clerks.
this was the F slur, which is why
no.
it's not there.
Great. What was this one?
I don't remember, but
that was the N-word. No.
Let's all go to the lobby.
we did a movie episode.
That one's
this one's charming as hell.
That one's sweet. That one's not too bad.
Hey, fuck! I don't even know what these are.
Delicious things to eat.
We did a movie episode.
Who am I? I'm Jim. We've been working together for 12 years.
Oh, that's from the Randall Park episode of The
Yes.
Office. You know what's funny is National Movie Day, as I think I mentioned 2 hours ago, is this upcoming Sunday, and I've booked myself to see 3 different movies. I really think I can cram a 4th one in there, just depending on if I want to get up earlier in the morning or stay up later at night on a Sunday night. I literally am at this point. But one of the movies I'm going to see is Shortcomings, which is directed by Randall Park.
Oh.
Which is very exciting.
He was a director.
Yeah, I think this is his debut feature, and I'm very excited about it. It seems very sweet. I think it's based on a graphic novel.
That's awesome. Good for him.
This is a whole different page.
Let's all go to the lobby. Oh, really? Ready?
Oh, that's it. You did it. No, you did it. That's the ending song.
That's the ending
No!
song.
I meant to pick a different one.
That's it.
All right. Well, I played myself out, I guess.
That was That in Good Taste? As always, don't forget you can reach us at wasithingoodtaste@gmail.com. You can always find me at Art of Giving Up on Instagram or DA Art of Giving Up on
Facebook?
Twitter.
We should have ended this podcast recording 4 hours ago.
We should have ended this podcast while we were still at the bar.
Where can we find you?
You can find me at Chandler Does Jokes on Instagram. I think that's it. Also the Sink or Sing, coming to a bar near you, whether you like it or not.
I just don't do it because I want to go, but I'm scared.
No, don't be scared. It's so fun.
Because if I sing, it'll be bad.
No, that's the whole point.
We actually have a song.
That's what
Well, hold
we're
on. We got okay.
Wait, what's
no?
your-
We have a song.
Our song?
The Year of the Rhythmics?
He has a whole song.
Yeah, Sweet Dreams.
No.
No.
Sweet dreams are made of cheese. Good am I to disagree. I fed of the world for some cheddar cheese.
You know I'm lactose intolerant. How dare you?
Everybody's looking for Munster. Some of them want a Gruyere.
Okay.
Some of them want a Port
This is it. It's it. It's really over.
Just keep hitting boards in the sound.
Wait, I think I forgot.
Oh, we got dupes.
Content.